Welcome back to the Players Tour online coverage, friends. I'm Ailey Loney alongside Huey Jensen, and we are going to be jumping into the top 8 very, very shortly. We apologize for the extended break there. They were just getting the old chit-chat from the judges and whatnot, and they are getting ready to rock and roll very, very soon. But before we jump in, while they wait to get ready and whatnot, let's take a look at the top 8 bracket just to remind everyone what it is we are about to see. We've got, how do I say this name, Huey? I don't want to mess this up. Eunice or Jonas? Or Junas?
This is your job, sorry.
Jonas Elorante, let's hope that's right. Kazuhiro Noini. We got Elias Watsfeld versus Simon Goodson. Luis Samuel Del Tour versus Jeong Cho. Dominic Goodson versus Shinsuke Hayashi. So those are the matches we have to look forward to. And we're going to kick things off here with Mr. Band Ramp, LSD, or Luis Samuel Del Tour versus Jeong Cho. So, friends, let me know in the chat. Let me know what you think about this matchup. Who is going to take it? We got this Bantram versus Team of Reclamation, splashing white for Teferi and Tulsamir in the sideboard, which is something that we haven't seen at all from any other player this weekend. Huey, do you think this is kind of giving him the edge?
Yeah. I mean, Teferi is one of the best cards in the matchup, so if you're able to play it, the downside obviously is it makes your mana a little bit worse, but it seems like it served him well throughout the tournament. Here he is in top 8 playing against LSD, who has yet another hand that looks pretty good. Though I guess no white mana right now?
Not yet, but, that's all right. We have a Temple of Mystery. We can scry, hopefully find something. No growth spiral yet either. So the crazy draws that we've seen, or the crazy opening hands that we've seen from Luis so far, not there just yet. Ethergust is going to get rid of growth spiral, and he has found the white source off the top of the library there. So the fairy will be making an appearance very shortly. Fossil Vantress down to Fairy Time Raveler, able to land on the battlefield on Jeong Cho's side. And he's going to start doing the things he does, shutting off instant speed interaction, bouncing stuff, drawing cards as he's just done. And Temple Garden off the top allows Luis Samuel to get his Teferi down too.
Yeah, I think this exchange is better for LSD, though. I think the symmetry of both players having Teferi stops more out of Zhang Wu's deck than it does out of LSD's deck. Also, with LSD having guaranteed access to Nissa next turn and potentially being able to attack Teferi if there's no blocker from Zhang Wu's side, I think that LSD's pretty happy with this exchange.
Yeah. Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath finds his way onto the battlefield, gains some life, draws a card, gets another land down. Comes in untapped, so shenanigans are afoot here, you've got to believe, for Cho. Brazen Borrowers, Petty Theft, gonna dispatch of Teferi there. Nissa, who shakes the world in hand once again. So there's options here now. Do we fire off Nissa and just take care of Teferi on the other side of the battlefield, or are we looking to redeploy Teferi while the guard's down?
Looks like Luis. I would have probably gone with Nissa myself, but I would trust Luis, having played his deck all weekend. Just thinking Teferi is really that valuable. Just getting him on the battlefield is stronger even than getting a Nissa and killing the opposing Teferi. I mean, the line of play of killing Teferi should be open to him next turn with Nissa, unless Zhang Chu is able to deal with Teferi yet again, but it's not super likely. It is a little bit tricky if there's a shark on the other side. Makes LSD's life a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Now we're going to see Nissa, who shakes the world, enter the battlefield. Feels like there's a shark in hand there with that pause on the client. Nissa, who shakes the world, bring in the breeding pool to life, and start taking a few pot shots at Teferi there. Might meet a big old sharky in the sky, though. And there it is. Medium-sized shark. Not the baby shark we've all come to know and love. takes care of that land and now presents a big old threat in the air, which Teferi Time Raveler dispatches of pretty easily.
And now next turn, LSD has the combo's oldest time, Nissa Krasis, potentially.
Yeah, Nissa and Krasis, two very good friends that we've seen throughout the standard format over the year. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, another very good ramp. Draw cards, gain life creature. Does exactly that. And now we've got a situation where it's 2 planeswalkers to 1. A big old fish potentially coming down. So Teferi Time Raveler minusing, ends up in the graveyard, and replaces himself straight away. So Jeong is digging for something. He's using Teferi to just, try and work his way through the library, try and find some interaction, some more proactive plays. He needs to deal with this Nissa because this card can run away with the games. We've seen it in the previous matchups today that, left unchecked, it's just going to completely obliterate your life total.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a huge turn for Louis. He can play something like a 7/7 or an 8/8 Krasis in addition to attacking Teferi with a land. See if Island attacks Teferi, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he can play, like, untap the Island, attack Teferi, and then play like a 7/7 Krasis. He can also leave Teferi and play for a turn if he wants and make Krasis a little bit bigger. He could also just play Uro first, and then if he draws another forest, I think maybe even play a bigger Krasis. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, now he can play forest, untap the Triome, attack Teferi, and play an 8/8 Krasis.
Here comes the Krasis of 4 life, 4 cards. Elspeth Conquers Death yoinked off the top of the library along with another growth spiral. So things looking pretty good here for Luis Samuel. On the other side, can't really say as much, unfortunately, for Cho. Doesn't have anything going for him right now. He's got 2 Uros in the graveyard. I'm not sure if he's able to get one of them out just yet. Doesn't look like he has the cards going. Now we're able to escape Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath with that growth spiral. Gets another land down.
Elspeth Conquers Death in hand, though, we'll be able to make quick work of the Uro.
Oh, yeah. So, Uro did his job to a degree, but unfortunately he is going to get put into exile with Elspeth Conquers Death if that's the route that Samuel decides to go. I mean, this 8/8 flyer in the air, he's got the Brazen Borrow, I think, that can provide a blocker on his next turn. But for now, this is still not looking super hot.
Krasis has trample too, so even blocking it only prevents 1 of the 8 damage. Yeah,
doesn't do much. He can try his best, but alas, that Brazen Borrow is not going to be super helpful. Elspeth Conquers Death coming on down, going to take care of Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. And we're going to swing in for, what's this, 14 damage?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that hurts. Just using up all his mana, though, is Luis Samuel Del Tour. Cracking his Fabled Passages, getting as much basic land out of his deck as he can. 2 Nissas in hand, so if Cho does have an answer for the 1 Nissa, he's in for a bad time because there's just 2 waiting to come back. Now with all of that sacrificing of lands, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, hits the battlefield and can get this Temple of Plenty down too. He's just got it all going for him right now. It's just like, hey, look at all my stuff. You have none.
Yeah, he's about to have 20 power and 20 toughness worth of creatures and play against nothing. It's usually a good sign, not to mention the 2 planeswalkers and an Elspeth Conquers Death threatening to bring either one of them back.
Yeah.
In the event that Zhang Wu is able to do anything about them, which there's no evidence he can even do that much.
Mm-mm.
Still no red mana, also for Zhang Wu, so...
I wonder if his hand is just like red stuff. Although I think it's just red for the expansion explosion, right?
Explosion, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
But that is one way to fight through planeswalkers.
Yeah.
But
Shark Typhoon. All right. It's not. It's an invisible shark just coming in for 0/0, unfortunately. And there is the concession. So did his best to dig through the library, but couldn't find anything to fight against that insane board state that Luis amassed there. That was just crazy. Like that's pretty much the exact way that he wants this game to play out, right? Just flood them with advantage, planeswalkers tick in, creatures every single turn. It's too much to handle.
yeah, and I mean, Teferi has done some work. I mean, I know it's like revolutionary expert commentary to say Teferi's a good card, but every time we watch LSD play, Teferi just does so much work in this matchup.
Teferi is just insanely good, and both players rocking him in the deck list, but unfortunately chose Teferi not sticking around, not getting the job done there for him. No sideboard times, few changes made to the list. Going into game number 2 here in our quarterfinal, both players playing for their spot in the semis. So let's see how game number 2 goes. Taking a look at the openers here, 2 Temples and a Fabled Passage. It's not the best land distribution you could ask for, but with 2 counter spells, Nissa and a Krasis in hand, I think you're pretty happy to see that. So kick things off with Temple of Mystery, Scry, take a look for something else, Aethergust down to the bottom, and let's get things underway. Growth Spiral fired off, main phase, don't want to risk it getting countered, gets the Castle of Ventress down, another Dovin's Veto off the top of the library, needs to find some white mana, goes for the Fabled Passage. As nothing else.
The big problem for LSD is he has to play this Fabled Passage because he needs to get a white so he can play his Dovin's Vetoes. But the problem is, like, all his lands are coming into play very awkwardly. Yeah. Temple, Triome, and Fabled Passage on the second turn. He couldn't afford to wait till the 4th turn, so his first 4 lands are likely to come into play untapped unless he draws something like that Breeding Pool. But
yep. Yeah, so finds the Breeding Pool, still opts to go for the Temple, though. Nothing to play for 3 mana right now with the 2 Vetoes and the Aethergust in hand, so quite happy to do that. There's a Nightpack Ambusher. It's going to get gusted away to the top of the library. And that could be a pretty big problem for him if he doesn't find another way to deal with it.
Yeah, and I mean, he knows next turn he's drawing a Temple Garden. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if he just might shock here to make it look like he has more than he has. Yep. Or just play a 2/2 Krasis and dig for an answer. That makes sense too. I don't know if there's anything you can do to really trick your opponent into not playing their Ambusher. Like, it's a pretty good card.
Yeah, that's an answer for the Nightpack. I bet he'd love to be able to have enough mana to cast Elspeth Conquers Death and Protect with a Dovin's Veto, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and the more that dog stays on the battlefield, the more desperate the situation gets here for Luis. Nissa shakes the world coming on down.
Yeah, Nissa being used as a bit of bait here.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is with LSD taking at least 7 damage here, even and then Zhang Wu getting an additional 3/3. Even if the Elspeth Conquers Death resolves next turn, it's like not the best situation for LSD. Just gonna have not that much in a hands full of Dovin Vetoes.
So now's the question, does this Elspeth Conquers Death resolve? If it doesn't, we're going to go to game number 3 here in our quarterfinals of Players Tour number 1. Mystical Dispute, dispatching of that Elspeth Conquers Death. There's the concession. Game number 3, let's go. So Shadow the Skies came out for the matchup. Is there any consideration to keep them, or is there any consideration to bring them in from the sideboard?
No, like, they have deck lists. LSD knew that Nightpack Ambush was going to be in the deck. The problem is, like, in this kind of matchup, when your opponent's playing an instant speed creature, and when you shatter it, like, the only card you want to kill when you shatter it's going to draw them a card anyway. I think you more rather try to fight through it with Elspeth Conquers Death and counterspells and Aether Gust than try to, like, let their creature come into play. They attack you with it, then you untap and on your turn tap out to play Shatter the Sky. Even if it resolves, it's not great for you, and then you're opening the door for them to do something powerful on their next turn.
Unless you have instant speed to fairy.
True.
All right, so game number 3, almost underway here between our two players. A Band Ramp and Ink Treader. Was that what BDM called it earlier? Ink Treader Reclamation. Just no black mana in the deck. It's just like Temur and Bant squished together.
Oh, it's one of those Nephilims. I don't know all their names, I must admit.
We were learning during our commercial break. So here we go. Game number 3. There's no blue. This is kind of not great. Yeah.
I think you got to send this one back.
Yeah.
It's close, though. If you draw blue, your hand's pretty good.
No, if you draw blue, you're ecstatic. Thinking long and hard about this one. I would be too, especially going first. Mulligans finds blue. And yeah, I mean, that's still pretty good. No to fairy. But I think having the guaranteed blue is a decent trade-off. All right. Kicking things off, breeding pool down for both players. Forest off the top of the library. Temple Garden comes in tapped. Nope. Comes in untapped. Able to gust or petty theft something away as needs be. Finds another Ether Gust off the top of the library. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, enters the battlefield.
So interesting, this Uro auto-resolved, which means Jeong doesn't have Aether Gust or Mystical Dispute in hand.
Yep.
Or Growth Spiral. All very important to note. The worry here for LSD is that Jeong will play Teferi now.
Yeah. Because no Mystical Dispute of his own in hand. There's the red mana. The elusive red mana. It's like the abominable snowman. Hardly see it.
The red man is real, though.
Because we were both sitting here going like, are we sure this is a reclamation deck?
Yeah.
Are we convinced? Now we are convinced. There we go. We just needed to see it to believe it. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, enters the battlefield. Draws a card, gains some life. Breeding pool at the top here for LSD.
Pay 2, so you can use Petty Theft plus Brazen Borrower if need be.
Mm-hmm. So this is the riveting part of gameplay where both players are playing lands and waiting until one person does something. That something might be Nisso Shakes the World.
Jeong has this Castle Vantress, which he can just play this game very easily now with Louis. Louis needs to do something. Like, he's the one who has the onus to do something now because of the Castle Vantress. So we'll see if and when that happens.
Yeah. I mean, Castle Vantress is such a good card in this. Just, improving the quality of your draws, getting crappy cards off the top of the library. Brazen Borrower now enters the battlefield, seeing that there's this lovely little scry engine online, and Luis has to do something about it.
Right, and I think that playing this Brazen Borrower is just completely a product of the Castle Vantress. Like, I think Louis knows, like, well, I need to sort of do something to try to make Zhang Wu do something other than just castle all the time and get all this free value.
Yeah. So applying some pressure in the air now with Brazen Borrower. Looks like, I think it's just probably the Scry holding up priority there. Yep. Scries again. Where do these cards go? To bottom. All right, this is the second time he's done that, so top of the library is not behaving for him. And Brazen Borrower is kind of the card that you deploy as a, yeah, this is most likely not going to get countered, but it can get a lot of damage through if left unchecked for too long.
Can also sort of pre-apply pressure to a planeswalker, if that makes sense. Like, it makes it a little harder to deploy something like a Teferi or, on Louis' side, Nissa or Tamiyo.
Yeah. And for another 3 goes the Brazen Borrower. Temple of Mystery down on the battlefield. Finds another temple on top. Gonna scry that to the bottom. And just keep chipping away here at Cho's life total. But Nightpack Ambusher makes its way down with 3 mana up, I should say, to defend it against the likes of an Ether Gust, Growth Spiral, fired off 2. Do we have an extra land to come down? Yes, we do. Hallowed Fountain. All right, so now both players with creatures on the battlefield. Ether Gust, though, is going to ruin the Nightpack Ambusher's fun as it gets sent back potentially to the top of the bottom of the library. Let's see if Cho has anything to fight against it. Doesn't look like it. So to the top of the library goes the puppy dog.
He may just be choosing not to. He may feel he's better off. Ooh, Tolsimir.
Ooh, nice. Off the sideboard, Tolsimir, friend to wolves. This is going to get gusted quicker than you can say lickety split. Now, do we fight over this instead? Oh, please fight over it. I want to see Voja. No! Back to the top of the library goes Tolsimir. And no pooches down for us just yet. Hydrocrasis off the top.
That was a strong draw. I think it's somewhat likely that Zhang Wu has something to fight these cards, but just didn't want to leave the door open to Anissa. Mm-hmm. And Hydrocrasis is the perfect card to play in those scenarios, because now it's like, I have to counter this. You're drawing 2, you're gaining 2, and now I maybe don't have a card to deal with your good Planeswalker next turn.
Yeah. So not the best answer for the Krasis. Putting it back on top, allowing LSD to replay it again if he so chooses. Gets a 2 cards, so just redraws the Krasis and finds Teferi off the top of the library. So this is looking very good here now for Luis Samuel Del Toro. Tolsimir, friend to wolves, down on the battlefield. Here comes Voja, going to trade there with a Brazen Borrower, gain some life. Importantly, and if we can follow it up with a Nightpack Ambusher, every single wolf then enters the battlefield, fights if needs be, and gains life. But I'm not sure that's going to happen with Elspeth Conquers Death, unfortunately. Got to see. Beltor is also behind on mana, so yeah, things... He's got a handful of gas, but unfortunately not as much mana to be able to do multiple things for a turn. So turns to Hydroid Krasis. We're going to get another 4/4. Draws a Temple and another Teferi, which we'll likely see very, very shortly. Oh, Dovin's Veto. Okay. All right. So the defenses are down. We can get the Nightpack Ambusher out now if you want to. Otherwise, we're going to get Uro out of the graveyard. I don't think we have enough, though, yet for him. So here comes the Nightpack Ambusher.
Oh,
just
wow.
trading there.
Maybe that's the card he needed to get Uro back.
Yeah, exactly right. So the Nightpack Ambusher, being the goodest boy, laying down its life to bring Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, back from the graveyard, finds another land, gains some life now. Back up to 19 is Cho.
But this Elspeth Conquers Death in combination with Dovin's Veto is going to be able to get rid of this Uro, stop all the advantage Jeong Woo is trying to gain. Yeah. Next turn, Teferi can come down, return Elspeth Conquers Death if that's what Louis wants to do. And I mean, Louis is really far ahead now. If he can fade Jeong Woo, if he were to draw, okay, and this is fine. He just wants to find something so badly, but if he were able to find like an expansion explosion that turn, maybe, and do something like draw 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards, that could have got him back in it. Now, scrying in his upkeep, I don't know what he's really hoping for at this point, to be honest with you, to play on this specific turn. Definitely getting back in this game almost has to involve an expansion explosion, but can't profitably cast it this turn. 2 top is pretty telling to me that he may have found something like that, though next turn he definitely has to worry about this ECD tax.
Yeah, non-creature spells costing, non-creature spells costing 2 more. Found an Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, so gets both cards that he left on top. Hydrocrisis off the top of the library now.
So with the tax, it's not a counter. It could be a dispute, but I think this game is far too... I think that Jeong Woo would be far too behind to leave a card like Mystical Dispute on top. Situational cards, not good when you're losing. Also, one of the worst things for you is like Nissa, which it does look like LSD is going to play here. Can't be interacted with for only 3 mana because of the tax. Also, LSD can follow this up with like a Hydroid Crisis or Teferi, both like applying a ton of pressure. And I still think if it's expansion explosion, maybe there's something to be done here from Jeong Woo's side, but even that now I think is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just look at this turn. He's just deployed almost all of his hand on this battlefield. We've got 2 Planeswalkers, an active Elspeth Conquers Death. We now have a 3/3. It's going to get in here for 3 points of damage. It brings friends to the party every single turn, too, and I bet Tolsimir is just hoping for some friends to help him out. No scry there. Trusting the top of the library to give him a good card is Cho. I mean, yeah, how do you come back from this?
Okay, that's something.
So Nightpack Ambusher it's a way to deal with this land. Brazen Borrower can bounce Tolsimir, but that's not really something you want to do. So we'll see. Oh. Okay, what are we bringing back? That's allowed to happen. Changed his mind about the petty theft. Potentially wanted to get rid of Tolsimir before the wolf landed. I do love seeing the clicks across the battlefield every now and then.
It's like the arena version of shuffling cards really fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Tolsimir. Yeah. Tolsimir is going to go after Teferi here, try and open up some instant speed interaction.
I think attacking Teferi is stronger here because you don't want Teferi to be able to bounce Elspeth Conquers Death.
Yeah.
Or a subsequent Elspeth Conquers Death, I guess.
So Uro comes back with a loyalty counter. What a loyal Titan. Back into the graveyard it goes, just getting that extra value, extra land, extra life, extra card. And escaping from the graveyard once again, exiling a bunch of stuff. Let's see what he finds at the top of the library here. Okay, Mystical Dispute. It's not really the counter you want to find. It gets worse as the game goes on.
It is okay here. Your point is definitely very valid, but it's okay because, like I've been saying, I think one of the easiest ways for Jeong to get back into it would be a big explosion, which Mystical Dispute is actually good against that specifically.
Yeah. So Hydro Crisis, just leaving up the 1 blue mana, finds a Dovin's Veto, Breeding Pool, and Nissa who shakes the world off the top. So just gas after gas after gas. Luis Samuel del Toro has it all right now.
Which kitty is that?
This is Gremlin. Hi. He likes to walk on my keyboard, so please don't close things. All right, so now we've got 2 6/6s, a 3/3, every single turn from Nissa who shakes the world. On the other side of the battlefield, we've got Tolsimir, Friends of Wolves, and a Nightpack Ambusher who is hopefully going to make some little creatures every single turn to keep Cho in this game. It's a very tricky situation here because you just want to kill these planeswalkers, but you can't get through these very meaty creatures that Del Toro has put down. The Nightpack Ambusher generates his friend, is able to take care of the land, so we'll see these cards trading every so often. Oh no, never mind, because Ether Gust is just going to send the Nightpack Ambusher away. That's a rough one. Poor little doggo meets its doom upon a plane.
I don't think that this Nightpack Ambusher on top now is enough. I mean, with Petty Theft in hand to bounce something, backup Nissa, Dovin's Veto, Teferi's coming from all angles.
Yeah, and with the extra pressure of Nissa lands every turn. I mean, in this situation, I'd just be tempted to swing all and just be like, you deal with it.
That's what I think is both correct and about to happen.
Whee! It's the big red button. Uro triggers before damage is dealt. Finds another Nissa off the top of the library, so we just got Nissa for days here. Luis Samuel del Toro looking super, super good in this matchup here against Cho, who fires off a Shark Typhoon, a 7/7, importantly, so it's able to potentially tender some blocks here, but we do see that Brazen Bar in hand. Petty Theft's going to get fired off. Move that shark out the way.
Why would he not do it for the rest? I can't. Maybe he just has another Shark Typhoon that he wants to cycle if this goes badly.
Yeah. Happy to lose the Hydroid Crisis there.
He just values keeping this Brazen Borrower in his hand to deal with shenanigans from the Tolsimir.
Are there 2 Nightpack Ambushers in hand? Or is that a visual bug that we've seen on Arena at the moment?
I don't know. I don't understand why there would be. I guess the answer is
there's not. It wasn't Ether Gust. The wolf became a gust.
That was very smart. That's why he left 2 mana up, because if the fairy got -2, he'd be able to play his Aether Gust.
Yeah. That's Fairy Time Reveler plussing away. Temple of Plenty down. Growth Spiral gets sent to the bottom of the library. And Luis Samuel Del Toro remains in firm control of this matchup. Nightpack Ambusher down on the battlefield, able to fight this land. But these may be the shenanigans that Brazen Borrower was built for. Both
Problem
players
with
just
Borrower there doesn't really help you. Either Tolsimir gets replayed and there's an extra wolf, or Nightpack Ambusher gets replayed and does the same thing.
yeah. Kind of just fighting a losing battle there. Curious to see when it does get fired off, or if we're just going to see Brazen Borrower played straight as a creature. The Tolsimir Friend to Wolves going to swing in at Teferi. It's on 5 loyalty though, so still able to keep plussing away. Won't be bouncing anything anytime soon.
So now the problem is Louis can ultimate his Nissa, make another Nissa, make an indestructible 3/3, make another Nissa, make an indestructible 3/3, and all these shenanigans don't do anything.
Yep.
Get a lot of lands into play too.
Here comes the land. Here comes the follow-up Nissa who shakes the world now with indestructible friends. So unfortunately, Tolsimir and the Wolves are not going to be able to get these lands off the battlefield. Uro as well, just presenting an insane amount of pressure and force here. Swinging on in. And Cho, he's got almost an impossible task here of dealing with this battlefield. Is there any basics left? I wonder. Here comes another Shark Typhoon. Right, so the Shark and the Wolf can block. We can kill Uro if we want to. But Brazen Bar ready and waiting. Gonna get rid of that 5/5. 9 points of damage coming across the line. Down to 7 goes Jeong Woo Cho. Man, this is looking so rough here for our reclamation. Well, our Ink Treader player. Ether Gust on the stack, going to attempt to get rid of this Uro. We've got ways to interact, though. Dobin's Veto can nope it. That's what we're going for here. Keep the big old giant on the battlefield. Keep our dominance going, and possibly getting Luis Samuel Del Toro into our semifinals. Okay. So a Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath of his own on the stack, escaping from the graveyard. Draw a card, gain some life, pad that life total up. And just gum up this battlefield. Is he have a chance here, Huey?
No. Sorry to be blunt, but I mean...
I just want to know, like, is there anything that he can draw that gets him back into this? Like,
I don't think so. Not against the dispute, the both planeswalkers. You know, another thing is like when LSD attacks with Uro here, it's like trading Uros benefits LSD. And these 3/3 indestructibles are threatening to run away with it. I mean, maybe, I guess, still somehow if... I don't know. Like, the problem is you would have to draw Expansion Explosion, cast it for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 only, and then like follow up on the next turn. Teferi's still in play.
Yeah.
I think it's just basically over. I mean, I don't fault anybody for going through it. Maybe one in some absurd amount. Maybe I can't think about something. Maybe Jeong wins 1 in 10,000 or something from here. I think it's probably in that ballpark.
Yeah.
But I don't even know what he could hope for.
Doesn't look like anything's going to get him out of the situation here. Maybe the shark can help us, but little old 3/3 isn't going to get much done against this army that has been amassed. Double Nisses coming down, 2 3/3s brought to life, tendering blocks where we can. There's also the Brazen Bar that we can fire off, and that's in the air next turn. Double block here on Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Down to 4 goes Cho. Now Teferi Time Raveler, doing Teferi things, bouncing things, drawing cards. Puts Uro back in hand. He'll be unable to escape it when it comes in again next turn. But that's not the case here for Luis, who is able to get Uro back on the battlefield straight away. Down he comes, finds another temple, onto the battlefield, sees a mystical dispute. That's going to go to the bottom of the library. And this poor Nightpack Ambusher left all alone against an army of land.
Yeah, Nightpack Ambusher might get bounced here too. Just
so many options. Look at all this value. 2 Teferis off the top of the library. Sure, why not? Let's play it. Just get this game well and truly over. Just plussing there, though. And let's see what Cho's final plays are going to be. Is it Teferi? Respectable. Mystical Dispute in response. We're going to pay the 3 to get this to resolve. No Brazen Bar being flashed in either. Barry's going to start bouncing these lands just to try and save face a tiny bit. So he's certainly trying his best here, is Jeong Woo-cho, to get back into this game. Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath back down once again. Did we find anything useful off the top of the library? Shocked in a land. What do we got? Triumph Cycle.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it. So there we go, friends. We have our very first semi-finalist in Luis Samuel del Toro. So congrats to them. That's I mean, he just doesn't seem to lose. He just keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, every time we have him on camera, he wins, and every time he's playing against Teamer. So
he's pretty happy
even though
about
that was a bit of a different take on Teamer.
Yeah. It's just Teferi explosions, whatnot. All right, friends. So we'll be right back after this short break with more of our top 8 actions. So don't go anywhere. If you do go somewhere, be back super duper quick. We'll see you after this.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now I am joined by Elizabeth Rice, writer, content creator, streamer. Where can we find you online?
You can find me streaming at twitch.tv/EllieoftheVale, and you can find all my articles at cardsfree.com.
Awesome. We'll get into some questions. What is your favorite color of mana?
Black.
What's your favorite format?
Cube. No, battle box. Ooh, hard. Cube.
What is the best limited set to draft?
Triple Cons is my favorite.
Good choice. Yeah. What's your favorite card art?
Probably Lorwyn. Thoughtseize? No, wait. This is really tough.
I know.
Either Laurel Doxies or pretty much anything by Seb McKinnon. That growth spiral is chef's kiss.
Yes. Seb is amazing.
So good.
What is a card you just hate to see played against you?
I hate Containment Priest. The fact that it's going to be in Standard just makes me so emotionally distraught.
I get you. Yeah.
I hate that card.
Do you have a favorite tribe?
I think, goblins.
What's the last TV series you watched?
Kill la Kill.
What is your dream? What's your dream vacation destination?
Marrakesh, Morocco.
What is a song that makes you turn off the radio?
What's that? It's a country song by Florida Georgia Line, and I don't really know what it. Oh no, it's this song. Baby, you're a song. You make me want to roll my windows down and cruise. Yeah, I hate it.
Oh, I don't even know the song, and I already hate it.
It's awful.
It's awful. Why?
It's the worst.
One more question. What is your go-to comfort food?
Oh God, go-to comfort food. If I just tell you loaves of bread, would you believe me? Just French bread, pumpernickel bread, whatever. I just
totally makes sense.
Eat it.
Yeah.
All of it. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for talking to me. Well, remind me where we can find you online.
You can find me at twitch.tv/LVale, and you can find all of my articles over at blog.cardsphere.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much for talking to me.
It's nice to see that, by the way. Little face-to-face interaction here, right? Sometimes when you play games a lot, you can feel a little disconnected from your opponent, but it's one of the great benefits to our game is these two gentlemen will remember this moment for the rest of their lives. Matt did find land source number 2, Blinkmoth Nexus, and now he has the Steel Overseer. But this is going to be a huge blowout here.
This is so rough.
Eli Loveman runs out the Izzet Staticaster, takes down the Overseer, and strands the other two in hand for Matt Sperling.
Matt Sperling probably wants to preserve that Arcbound Ravager, so he will likely have to sack a creature to keep it in play. Now, Eli Loveman, after that, has Reflector Mage in hand. He could choose to play Reflector Mage to then remove the Arcbound Ravager. But it looks like he wants to get aggressive here because with 2 Noble Hierarchs in play, this Mantis Rider getting in for 5.
Looks more like a dragon.
Matt Sperling trying to make a 3/5 Ornithopter here.
He's going to eat up one of the Mantis Riders, but Eli says sure.
So it's taken 3 damage, though. Now, Reflector Mage.
Packing right back to your hand. Reflector Mage off of 3 Noble Hierarchs post-combat means that Ornithopter is going to be back in his hand, and Matt can't even play it next turn.
Yeah, this is just a game at this point. There is just way too much pressure on Eli Loveman's side of the battlefield. Matt Sperling will sacrifice the Ornithopter, but this game is over.
There it is, Galvanic Blast off the top of the library. It is completely uncastable as it has been this entire game, and we are on the verge of our champion. There's another Reflector Mage off the top of the library as well to send the last creature packing on the battlefield. There it is, Reflector Mage on the stack. Sperling's going to think about it and scoop up his permanents. We have our champion. Eli Loveman of the United States is your Mythic Championship winner here from London. Congratulations, Eli.
Oh, yeah. And Eli just playing so clean every single game that we've seen.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the News Desk. Brian David Marshall here with Alias V. Alias, pretty exciting. Every time we have LSD on camera, not to be confused with LSV or Alias V. We see him winning. Even this crazy teamer deck that he was up against, that was like a pretty like ambitious deck list he was facing.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't really talk about it much throughout this tournament, but it is a 4-color teamer rec deck that also was running Blast Zone.
Yeah.
So like a very, very ambitious deck list that clearly highlighted the power of Teferi, but it ran afoul there. But we're going to talk about Luis Samuel Del Toro, who really did the best job here of exploiting the power of Teferi with his Bant list.
Yeah, this deck just doesn't seem to lose. It's insane.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. And I'm just pulling up, I think we have his, just to walk you through the tournament that he's had with this deck. He started by playing Jeong on Teamer. He won that 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
From there, he goes and plays Magic Online World Champion Dmitry Budakov. Budakov on Judge Sacrifice, 2-0. Plays Matteo Di Napoli, Teamer, 2-0. Dominic Gertzen, who's in the top 8, Teamer, 2-0. Hironori Tanaka, Bant Ramp, 2-0. Sergio Garcia Gonzalez with Teamer, I believe also in the top 8 or just outside of the top 8 now, I don't remember, 2-0. Plays Simon Gertzen in the top 8. This is his first loss of the tournament. He does lose once to Teamer on day 1. He falls 0-2 to Simon, the Pro Tour champion. Alessandro Portaro was next, Teamer, 2-1. Itu Pertula next, Teamer. He wins 2-1. The Hall of Famer, 5-time Pro Tour top 8 competitor, Kenji Samura, Teamer, 2-0. Elias Watzfeld in the top 8. Actually through to the top 4 here. Elias beat Simon Gertzen this round. Saw a tweet from Simon, which he said, let's stop calling Elias Watzfeld the limited master, because that was how he had qualified for it. He's just a straight up master. 2-1. Also for LSD. He did lose to Junis Eloranta playing Teamer. He lost 1-2. And then beat Bant Ramp in the hands of Hayashi. He beat Jeong Woo Cho in the second to last round. He just defeated in the quarterfinals. And then in the last round, was willing to not play, but had to play against Martin Juza, another Hall of Famer. And Martin Juza fell 2-0 to LSD. This is just a dominating performance by this deck, and really quite a showcase for Teferi Time Raveler, a card that may have gotten a little overshadowed by the rise of companions with the release of Ikoria.
Yeah, so the companions were just there to distract everyone from the power of Teferi Time Raveler. He's like, hold that thought, or here, take my beer, go do things with it, kind of thing.
Is that what he says? I have my sounds usually muted on Arena. Is that what he says? Hold my beer?
Yes, hold my beer.
That would be awesome.
It's Teferi's rise Arena again. Do we?
Can we hack Arena so we can get our own custom sounds on it? That would be awesome.
And that would be pretty sweet.
and of course, Nissa, who shakes the world, also, this is a card now for 2 years, right? For as long as this card has been out, it's just been dominating the board and finishing games, right? It is like the hallmark of the end stage of a game of Magic at this point.
Oh yeah. If Nissa goes unchecked, you are in such trouble. Usually, if it's 2 turns that she's not been dealt with, you can just expect to scoop them on up and move on to the next game there. But Chad actually made a really interesting point too about this deck. There's no Shark Typhoon. No baby sharks running rampant in this list, where we've seen quite a few players still rely on that super powerful cycle effect. But, LSD is just like, nah, I don't need that. I've got Nissa, I've got Teferi, I've got Elspeth Conquers Death. What more do I need?
I think part of the reason that Shark Typhoon has become so popular is because it's a great answer to Teferi.
Yep.
Right? It's just you get to cycle, make a 2-2 or even a 1-1 sometimes at the end of turn. Even though you can't do any other instant speed actions, you still get to cycle, use your mana, turn a card into something, some kind of board presence, and attack a Teferi in the air. So maybe he just felt like he didn't need it, since he was the Teferi player. It's a good question for us to ask him later on if he, wins another 2 matches and we end up having a finals interview with him.
Yeah, maybe also just thinking that Hydro Krasis is the better flyer, draws you cards, gains you life too. It's a great way to use all that extra mana that Nissa's pumping out. So I'd like to see a shark bring me cards. Oh wait, it already does. Never mind.
that was a pretty nice sequence where we saw the Hydro Krasis get Ether Gusted. And then, he's like, all right, I'll just draw my Hydro Krasis again.
Yeah, I'm quite happy if my stuff gets gusted. I get to get more cards. Thanks.
Yeah. Let's take a look through just the top of the standings after 15 rounds again. Let's look at some of the players who finished outside of the top 8. You'll see a couple names we mentioned, but highest finishing, some of the highest finishing decks that weren't necessarily the 2 archetypes in our top 8. So Jun sacrificed Davide Miani. So great job by him getting to 10th place, qualifying for the event, the Players Tour finals. Let's see, Azorius Control from Martin Hykredge. And then it's a lot of Team of Reclamation. Takuma Ishikawa, another Jun Sacrifice player. Hironori Tanaka, a Bant Ramp player. And Terrence Sarens, a Bant Ramp player. So, Bant Ramp actually, more than a couple of instances of it showing up in the top 20. It ends up being, I think, 25% here in the top 20. And then, if you sort of like pull Azorius Control into that, maybe, it's a nice, a nice 20-25% of the field here at top tables. Let's take a look at that second set of players, going down even a little further. Some of the players from 21st to 40th place. Jeremy Payen, Raul Zimmerman, etc. You see Oliver Frith, by the way, just player I want to mention. Something I always like to do when I'm at these events is talk about players who are playing in their first event at this level. Right? Getting to play in a Players Tour online or a Mythic Championship or a Pro Tour or whatever it was, is not something that just happens. It is the culmination of a long career, usually, of grinding at PTQs, Grand Prix, online qualifiers, last chance qualifiers. It's a huge moment. And one of the things that I always like to do in my role, sitting at the desk or sitting in the green room interviewing players, is acknowledge people who are making their first appearance at this level and racking up a little bit of success. Oliver Frith, playing in his first tournament at this level, got here. So kudos to him. 9-6 is a tremendous finish. Won $1,000 for his efforts.
Nice.
Tremendous finish for someone playing in their first event. Elias, I have done Hall of Fame profiles throughout, the entire existence of the Hall of Fame for Magic. And you talk to people about their first Pro Tour, their first event, and there are not a lot of 9-6s. There are not a lot of, every now and then you get a Randy Buehler who goes and wins his first Pro Tour, but that is very much the exception.
Yeah.
And 9-6 is a tremendous result. And kudos to him. He was playing Zvi's Mono Green list. I talked to him a little bit on Twitter. So great job by him and great job by everybody this weekend making this work. Obviously we would all love to be gathering after this event in some random hotel lobby somewhere, exchanging war stories, but that's not going to be our reality for a while. So kudos to everybody for putting together this Players Tour Online, for these players for showing up and putting the work in, and for all their achievements. And you know what? We've got a semifinals coming up. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back, and you and Huey will be talking us through the semifinals of the Players Tour Online.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. Right now we've got Daquan Watson, content creator and co-host of Color of Magic. Daquan, where can people find you on the internet?
Pretty much everywhere, but I think TikTok these days. Just look up Power Dragon, POWRDRAGN, and you'll find me probably there, especially on YouTube and Twitch these days.
Awesome. Well, let's get straight into some questions. What is the best color of mana?
Oh, green, by far. Not even close.
Do you have a favorite format?
Favorite format? Actually, a standard. I've always enjoyed standard.
Who's your favorite Magic character?
Ooh, favorite Magic character. I would say... Oh, this is going to be very weird. Probably Jor-El, actually. That was one of the first cards where I had to discard stuff and got abilities for it, and it felt awesome.
When did you start playing?
when I started playing, it was somewhere between the winter of 94 and the spring of 95. So I've been playing for a while.
Do you have a favorite Magic art?
Oh, favorite Magic art. Actually, the original, I think it's Pixie Queen from Legends with the Quentin Hoover art. That's actually very cool.
Cool. What is the best guild?
Best guild, Gruul, by far. Like, if anybody who follows me on Twitch or on my YouTube knows that. It's part of my brand, practically.
What's your dream vacation destination?
Oh, man, we went to St. Thomas, and that was great, but I think I actually want to go to Australia at some point. I'm afraid of everything killing me there, but, I know lots of people there, and it's probably going to be fun, so I want to check that out sometime.
Do you have a favorite sport?
Yeah, I'm a big football fan. I think it's because I grew up in Texas, and it's kind of like injected into our blood at birth, so yeah, definitely American football.
Who's your team?
The Dallas Cowboys. It's an affliction. At birth, they bring us a plush football and a Dallas Cowboys blanket, and you're ready to rock and roll.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Oh, man, go-to comfort food. If I get to make a meal, believe it or not, I really like lasagna. But if I'm just, hanging out on the computer and doing simple things, pizza rolls.
All right, one more question. Is there a movie that makes you cry?
Oh, actually, at the end of the Green Mile, spoilers for anybody who hadn't seen it from 15 years ago, but yeah, at the end when he's there and he's, the dude's really sad and they're about to electrocute him or whatever, that's one of the few times I think I actually teared up at a movie. That was rough.
It is the finals, and it is getting real exciting down there. This one was looking like it was going to be over 1-2-3 punch for to Ralph Zevran from Germany, but not so quickly, says Alvaro Fernandez Torres. He was mulligan to 5, down 2 games in the sideboarded games, and somehow found a great draw and a win in game number 3. It is now 2-1 in favor of Severin. Yeah, I like his play here.
He's killing the lance. Makes a lot of sense.
For sure. Who cares how big of a creature you make as long as I don't die next turn? He passes the turn back. It's 3 1-drops in hand, another copy of Hardened Scales plus 2 Nature's Claims, and Fernandez Torres has nothing he can do against Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger.
He needs to draw land plus Walking Ballista.
That's it. He has to do it.
Those need to be the exact 2 draws. He can actually stay alive
by blowing up his own Hardened Scales,
assuming he doesn't get decked.
Yeah, that's true. Ulamog is a hungry, hungry boy. He snaps off huge chunks of your library. 20 cards go away.
And here's the first attack trigger.
There it is, a 5/5 Walking Ballista, and there's really no way out here for Alvaro Fernandez Torres. It was simply too much from Ralph Zevran over the course of this match. Alvaro fought hard, he fought long, but he is way too far behind to come back now, and surely Zevran is on the brink of victory here in Barcelona. He's thinking about a card he could draw, but Damping Sphere certainly isn't it, and that's going to do it. You have your champion, Ralph Zevran. He looks over in his cheering section, and he's your champion.
Oh my goodness. 1 damage. He got down to 1 life, and he survives, turns it around. Ulamog exiling 2 key permanents in 2 of these games.
And his friends are mobbing him. Look at that. Riley gave him a kiss on his head. They're all so excited.
Amazing friends.
For Toro.
Welcome back to Players Tour Online coverage, friends. It is the top 8. We are going to be jumping into our semifinals. And if we can, Mr. Producer, can we take a quick look at the top 8 bracket just to see how things have shaken out so far as our players work their way towards the finals? So we just saw in the previous matchup, Luis Samuel Del Toro versus Jeong Woo Chu, rocking his Team Reclamation / Bant list, and just, falling prey again to this Bant ramp deck list that Louis is running. It's just, is there any way to stop him, Huey?
We're going to find out. It seems by the looks of it that we know Dominic Gertsen won, so that's it. It's just Teamer Rec for the rest of it. We've got Luis Samuel Del Toro and Bant Ramp and 3 Teamer Rec decks. So
I bet he's happy about that.
Right. And whether or not he can be stopped by Teamer Rec, we're about to see. I mean, he's got to win 2 more to win the tournament. I think this is sort of why he played this deck in the configuration that he did and what he was hoping for. So he's put himself in a position to make a metagame call that has a chance to win him the tournament. He has to play against certainly two very strong players, and we'll see if he's able to win 2 more.
Yeah, he's the last band standing. So, friends, if you pick a champion here. You've got a 25% chance of a band ramp deck winning and 75% chance of Team Rex. So, we'll have to see how that cookie crumbles, but we are ready to rock and roll here in the semifinals. Dominic Goodson versus Luis Samuel del Tour. So unfortunately, we're not going to see a Goodson brother final. Unfortunately, they'll have to try that once again, but potentially we're going to see an all-team reclamation final unless Luis has anything to say about it.
Rough start there for Louis. The 7 had land and spells, but just way too slow. And then the 6 was just like all lands and Shatter the Skies, which don't even do anything in the matchup. So quick mulligan to 5, though. If he can find one more land, turn 3 Teferi into turn 4 Tamiyo, those are tools that can get him out of this card advantage hole and start grinding his way back into the game, pending their ability to resolve.
Yeah. So a little bit of an unfortunate start there, not the gas-filled hand that we've seen from Del Tour throughout this tournament. Both players making their land drops so far. Fabled Passage going to get cracked to go and find one of the missing colors. Triumph, luckily though, from Ikoria being able to fill in the gaps as needed in these multicolored decks. So Praxit goes to find a plains, and here comes Teferi, potentially, unless Dominic has something to say about it. Which he does. Mystical Dispute, Teferi in the graveyard. Gonna have to hope for land number 4 here to get Tamiyo ticking. Growth Spiral now from Dominic. No Ether Gust there from Louis. So luckily finding land number 4 did Del Tour, so we can get Tamiyo going next turn. There's another temple on top of the library just to help fix his draws a little bit and come back from that mull to 5. And just a reminder, friends, that this is the semifinals. The graphic over here saying it's the quarterfinals, but it is not. This is Uro Titan Mage's Wrath on the stack. It's going to get gusted away.
Looks like by the pause that Dominic has Mystical Dispute in hand. I guess there's some chance, I don't know his exact list, but it could be like an opt if that's a card he's playing.
Yeah. The Tamiyo Collector of Tales on the battlefield now. It'll be interesting to see what she names. Want to hazard any guesses?
Hydroid Crisis, Nissa.
Tamiyo Collector of Tales. Going to find Elspeth Conquers Death. Oh, okay. Interesting.
What he's trying to do is prevent Uro, I guess, from being too much of a problem.
Ether Gust off the top of the library now. Tamiyo able to return a card from the graveyard.
That'll
likely
be a Teferi.
Going off Tefers, yep. A banned ramp deck is not complete without Teferi Time Reveler. A little bit at risk here of getting countered. Doesn't have the 3rd land to pay for Mystical Dispute, but Teferi resolves.
Looks like a shark.
Big ol' flying shark.
Shark, there's a bit of an actual somewhat tricky situation here on Dominic's side, because if the Shark attacks Tamio and kills it, Teferi can bounce the Shark and draw a card. If the Shark attacks Teferi, though, Teferi lives, and then you're at the mercy of Tamio, either minusing to get back another Teferi and bouncing the Shark, or potentially even just getting back a Brazen Borrower, or even just plussing and getting lucky, or losing the Shark to a Shatter. So not the simplest Shark ever here.
But one thing we do know, that Shark will attack, goes for Tamio. No answers from Luis to protect that for now. Let's see what the follow-up is here. Dominic and Simon are related. Yes, they're brothers. Both in the top 8 for the first time, which is super duper cool. So Temple of Plenty off the top here now. Scry first if we're going to bounce the Shark. Looks like we're just going for the plus. Instant speed, Shatter the Sky, because why not?
The reason why not is that if Dominic uses his land to kill Teferi, you don't get a card out of it now. This play is a little bit better against another Shark, but there's the Blast Zone on the board.
Yeah, that'll take care of Teferi one way or the other. Instant speed Shatter kills the Shark, draws another card there for Dominic.
I don't know. I think I prefer minusing Teferi there to guarantee myself the card.
Yeah.
I'm afraid here when I'm trying to catch back up from this card deficit that losing my Teferi to this Blast Zone without getting a card out of the deal is actually a pretty big deal. Especially given that I think it's somewhat likely my opponent's going to have to use Blast Zone to kill the Teferi even if I had minused it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Hugh, this list isn't running Narset, which we typically see in these, band control / ramp decks. Any reason why not to play her?
Well, I think a lot of the Narsets we saw were in 80 card decks that were using Yorion. And I think mostly the reason is just like, Narset was probably the 67th best card in the deck or something like that. I think that Teferi is obviously more important. And I think people are opting to go with Uro for their card advantage because it also does the ramping instead of something like Narset. But, I mean, if we're talking about a world where we're dealing with 40%, maybe 70% Bant and Teamer, Narset could make a resurgence. It is a very strong card in those matchups, shutting off half of Uro, half of Gross Spiral, the card draw part of Krasis, Teferi's card draw, Expansion Explosions card draw, Opt, Chemist's Insight, and so on. So maybe time for her to make a bit of a return.
Maybe we'll see that next weekend.
Don't spoil my deck.
Don't spoil. Oh, I was going to ask you for yourself personally. Never mind. Don't you? You're hurt now.
I was just kidding. I was just saying about Narset. If you're going to ask what I'm going to do next weekend, I don't know. I'm going to have discussions with some of my teammates, and this is the truth. I really don't know yet.
Okay.
I think obviously Bant and Team are at the top of the list in terms of decks to check off. So I don't know if I'll even get to the point of checking both those off, though. I think I would enjoy myself playing Bant more. So maybe if I had to pick like this instant, I would choose that. But there's a lot of time between this, today and next weekend.
Yeah. Well, I'll be rooting for you, whatever you're playing.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully we'll get to see some of your matches on stream. So Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, is hanging out on the stack. Neutralize. Coming in hot. Gonna get rid of that. It's a Wilton hand that we can cycle away for LSD. On the other side, we've got an Uro in the graveyard. Not sure how many cards he has, though, in hand. Oh, sorry, in the graveyard. If he can bring it back. Quick count in the graveyard. Uro comes back. Exiling a bunch of stuff. And we're going to see Aethergus send him to the top of the library, or to the bottom, depending on what Dominic has in hand. Breeding pool off the top here now. Uro available for LSD.
He thought for a second, in my opinion, about playing a shock breeding pool untapped, taking two to play around Mystical Dispute. But then I think he, in the moment, thought, you know what? I don't think my opponent has Mystical Dispute because he would have forced through his Uro. But look, Dominic actually just preparing for exactly what happened.
Surprise.
And I think probably LSD may be kicking himself a little bit now.
Yeah. I mean, nothing to say that Dominic doesn't have a second one in hand, but not as likely.
We have seen LSD do that a lot. Shock to play around Mystical Dispute.
Yeah.
So I really think he just deemed it impossible based on the previous turn.
Well, very well played there from Dominic. Draws the Uro that was returned to the top of the library. So we can fire that off pretty safely now, I should say.
I think might be time to consider cashing in Wilt. He really would like to play Krasis for 6 and not 5. He's got to give it a little bit of pause because Dominic didn't play the Uro that he knows he has, which leads you to think that he might have Expansion Explosion in hand, which you really want to do something about. But given that you don't have anything, if you see the Expansion Explosion for 6 here, killing your Krasis, drawing 6 cards, it's not something you're going to be super happy about. And there it is.
Bunch of cards now for Dominic, refilling his hand. Just a curious thing there. Was there any reason to not play the Temple before the Hydroid Krasis, just to avoid 3 lands on top like we saw there? Was he hoping for a Mystical Dispute and an untapped blue source?
Well, that's sort of relevant, but the bigger deal is like you. So if you play the Krasis first, you draw your cards, and then you get to make your scry decision. If you play your Temple first, you make your scry decision, and then you get to draw the cards. So given that you're going to make this scry decision on your turn no matter what, and by your next draw phase, you're going to have drawn all the cards, and you know your mana's already committed to spending Krasis, you rather just do the scry with the most information available to you possible.
Okay.
So you typically would do the Krasis first in that situation.
Elspeth Conquers Death being scried now to the bottom of the library. That's a lot of lands in this battlefield. Not much else, but as I say that, Shark Typhoon makes its way onto the battlefield. That is an 8/8 shark. And I can tell you it is hungry. Swinging on in. Taking a big chunk out of LSD's life total. Down to 17 he goes. Throw a spiral off the top of the library. You're going to take a scry, Temple of Mystery. Finds a breeding pool on top. It's going to send that to the back. Fire off this growth spiral. Let's see if we can find some action here. That is a Nissa who shakes the world. So that would usually be great, but that shark just kind of munches on it.
Yeah.
Oof.
I think Louis really needs a Teferi, something that is both reactive and proactive, like can get rid of the shark on the board and give him an advantage. Something like Nissa, like, okay, maybe it'll stop you from getting attacked by this 8/8 one turn, because it'll attack Nissa instead, but...
Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, coming to the rescue, finds a Temple Garden. We can get that down. Back up to 20 he goes. Just padding the life total a little bit. Fending off the shark as best he can. But yeah, need to find Teferi. I think you'll have enough now for Ura to come back. Here comes another shark. That is a 10-10. Ooh, Nelly. That's 18 points of damage. Thank you very much. Goodness gracious. Down to 2 goes Luis Samuel Del Tour. He is in a mighty pickle right now. And Dominic is showing no signs of letting up. Oof. Land off the top. That's not going to do it. So there's the concession. First game goes to Dominic. Land. Massive freaking shark.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget LSD started that game on 5 cards. He maybe would have had a slightly better chance if on the 4th turn he had drawn an untapped land instead of a tap land and played Tameo and got rolling a little bit quicker. It's just hard to win with 5 cards against 7. That's a big disadvantage to start from. But he did make a game of it in the mid game, although Dominic really pulled away at the end. And maybe if he had played that breeding pool untapped, maybe he would have had slightly better chances. But what are you going to do? I think it made sense. I think his thought process definitely made sense there.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. All you can do is just shake it off, go on to the next game, and try and win. 2 games in a row here against Dominic Goertzen on Band Ramp. On Team Reclamation as the Band Ramp player. So friends, if you are just joining us, this is the semifinals of PT Arena number 1. This is the Players Tour Online, and we are looking for this champion. So plenty more Magic action coming this whole weekend. And looking forward to seeing who our players are going to be that make it through to the Players Tour's finals next weekend. All right, here we go. No blue in hand, but we have the Fabled Passage, so we can go and find that island. 2 Nissa Who Shakes the Worlds, Ether Gust, and a Dovin's Veto for Luis Samuel Del Tour. Castle Vantress is not usually a good sign there. Is that the only blue source in hand for Dominic?
It could be a situation where he has like Castle Vantress and a Stomping Ground and or a Forest, and wants to Growth Spiral on the 2nd turn without taking damage, while also leaving up Mystical Dispute or something like that.
Yeah. So Ether Gust, sending away that Growth Spiral. No ramp there for Dominic, no extra card. Shucks in the Breeding Pool. Will we see a follow-up or just holding up mana for a Mystical Dispute? Not much to go, not much happening here for Louis on the turn 4, so just opting for the 2/2 Crisis. Get this little flyer going in the air. In response
the definite risk here is that Dominic now plays a land and a Wilderness Reclamation on his turn.
Yeah. Yeah, defenses are down. 2 Growth Spirals. Well, you counted my first one. Here, have 2 more. Oh boy. Shenanigans are afoot as land number 6 hits the battlefield for Dominic, but nothing being played there. Interesting.
Louis has to be worried about a shark here.
Yeah.
He does have the Brazen Borrower, the Petty Theft, which can bounce it, but that also taps him out of blue mana.
Yeah. I wonder if this is just lining up perfectly here for Dominic. Maybe, I don't. This feels like a shark.
Dominic is also somewhat likely just to take the 2 and make a shark later.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not super worried about this 2/2 Crisis, and he doesn't want to maybe leave the door open to like a Teferi Time Raveler. So it wouldn't even surprise me to see Dominic either scry or make a shark at the end of turn. Just more Growth Spirals, I guess.
Jeez, that's his fourth one.
Maybe into a blue land and a scry. Yeah.
Wow, okay. So all the ramp in the world, but we need something to follow it up here, Dominic. So let's hope for some gas in this tank. Next turn from Deltour, we're going to see Nissa, who shakes the world, come on down, most likely. Ooh-wee. Almost down to 10 goes Dominic, ending a flying shark. Followed up with the Nissa here. Looks to be the line for Louis, as he wants to just try and catch up here mana-wise. And what better way to do it than with Nissa, who doubles all of the green mana.
Part of the thought process here, I think, it's like, you know, you may be thinking, why did he play this after combat? I think it's such that, like, it's a little bit harder if Dominic were to interact with Nissa with either a counter or dispute Aether Gust, something like that, to then follow up by making a shark. So he's sort of trying to play a mana game. He also has a second copy. Obviously, we know the Brazen Borrower here can take out this shark, no problem.
Yeah. Nicely sequenced there by Deltour. Resolving the Planeswalker, able then to bounce the shark, leaving Dominic with essentially nothing going for him right now. Elspeth Conquers Death. Second copy off the top of the library. Start running some lands in at Dominic Gertzen. He's down to 10 now.
Got to be a little worried about another shark. 7/7 shark, eat a land that can untap and attack Nissa, although Dominic would require another card to interact in that scenario. At least one with the Brazen Borrower out there, I guess. The Dovin's Veto provides a pretty high level of insurance here. The
5/5 shark being made, leaving up 2 mana for interaction. Gonna munch on this forest. And take 5. Down to 5 goes Dominic. What are we going to see here? A second Nissa or an Elspeth Conquers Death on an empty board? Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. Yeah, just hold up that Dovin's Veto in case of shenanigans. I think it's possible that Dominic sided out the Wilderness Reclamation and just playing a ramp, make big things game.
I suppose anything's possible. I suspect he has. It's possible. I think he sided out some. I'd be surprised if he sided out all 4, though. But anything's possible. I mean, you know, I'm sure Simon and Dominic came up with their sideboard strategies together. I don't remember what Simon was doing if we saw this matchup from his perspective, but yeah, I think shaving the combo after sideboard tends to happen, but I'm not exactly sure. You know, he might have 1, he might have 2. I doubt he has 0, but it's possible.
So he needs something else on the battlefield, otherwise he's going to be dead to another Nissa land. Perhaps an expansion explosion. Another shark would do. Ideally, he'd like to wrap this up in a clean 2-0, but we know Louis Samuel Deltour, that's not going to be the easiest of tasks for Dominic. Plays a land, can't attack the Nissa. Shark is on blocking duty. Here comes the Brazen Borrower. He needs 2 things, actually. He's got, Yeah, he can just play double Nisses. I think he's got it here. Oh, there we go. There's the explosion. The itty-bittiest explosion ever. Just for one, gets a card, takes care of that Brazen Borrower. So Nissa makes a land. Second Nissa can come on down. So we need something from Dominic here to get one of these creatures off the battlefield.
I don't think there's a combination here against an extra Nissa and the veto.
Yeah. Because even if there was something like Petty Theft, or I don't know if he's playing any hard removal spells, but yeah, it's just going to get vetoed. So this game is going to go to Luis Emil del Toro, unless we have a negate. Negate is cool and all, but have you met veto? There's the veto. Tapping man, I didn't even wait to see it resolve. He's just like, yeah, I know, you got it. All right, fine, let's go to the next one.
I think the problem was he couldn't even beat the board, even if the Nissa got countered. I think the 3 creatures were enough.
Yeah. Yeah, just way too much pressure there. And that just shows how powerful Nissa is. I mean, we hadn't seen her for a while. She kind of like just went under the radar. I didn't think she was being played in any of the competitive lists with Yorion doing this thing. But, you know, with the change to companions, it's almost kind of like the meta shifted back to what it was before the release of Ikoria. Which means Nissa gets to come back to play.
It's a tough hand.
Yeah. That is real tough.
It has the Teferi, but no white mana and only 2 lands with, that's the thing about Uro and Growth Spiral. They do ramp you, but they don't ramp you like a ramping growth. Like you have to actually draw lands in order to ramp with them. So,
Speak of Growth Spiral, there's the first one fired off by Dominic, so he's getting his lands and then some with a Temple of Mystery to help shore up his draws. Scry 1 top. There's a land. Never didn't have it. He's going to be very happy to see that.
Not a white, though.
Yeah, Katria Triome is Temur colors, right? No?
Yes.
Yes. All these strange names for things.
There is no Bant Triome.
No. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath down on the battlefield. We do have another look at the top of the library, though, for Luis Samuel del Toro, as we have Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Let's see. If you're allowed to resolve, you may not be.
Yeah, this might get gusted, in which case I think LSD is forced to put it on the bottom. Oh, it's opt in case of dispute, I guess.
Mystical Dispute, just straight up counter? No, it's allowed to resolve. Okay. Then we find Brazen Borrowers, still no white mana.
And no 4th land at all.
This is not looking super hot here for Del Toro, who's had an absolutely stellar run so far. Dominic Gertzen smells blood in the water. Playing those sharks, wants to get those going and clean up this game as quick as he can. Press the advantage. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath out of the graveyard already. This is looking very, very dire for Del Toro. Another Teferi. Insult to injury at this point. This library is not behaving. We have Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, and that is it. We've got Brazen Borrower to interact with that Uro. Looks like that might be the line we're going for here with the stop on the upkeep.
LSD probably figuring, like, what can I do? Like, what can I even hope for? What do I do if my opponent has all lands? What do I do if my opponent draws all lands? Can I even afford to play around anything? Should I just play my Brazen Borrower now and hope that the Petty Theft now and hope I get to stop Uro? Should I try play Uro and hit a land?
Finds a land. It's not the land we're looking for. Growth Spiral on the end step here. Dominic just pressing his advantage. And big ol' Uro able to swing in here for 6 points of damage. Oh, man. This is not what you want to see. That's worse. Seeing this wilderness reclamation resolve. Nothing to do about it. We can petty theft it next turn if possible, but looks like we're going QQing and pew-pewing for Dominic Gertzen.
This would be an explosion for 8 if that's what Dominic chooses to do. Maybe for 6 if he wants to do something like leave up an Aether Gust or a Negate.
We see the explosion keeps up the 2 lands.
3, so maybe he has a neutralize or dispute.
Yeah. Goes to discard. There's the planes. Finally, full LSD, but you've got to think it's too little too late with that much mana, Wilderness Reclamation, and Uro on the battlefield opposite him. Teferi Time Raveler on the stack. Mystical Dispute. Brazen Bar is going to send back Uro. Just keep face safe for a little while longer as we try and fight our way through this. Opt in response, does he find another Mystical Dispute? One more up for good measure. I think we're going to find our first finalist here very, very soon, friends, in Dominic Gertzen with the Temur Reclamation. Super unfortunate run here for Louis Samuel Deltour. Just not finding the lands he needed on time. Here comes Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Back once again. Will we see another pew-pew? We're going to have to wait for the big finish. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, escaping again. So many cards in that graveyard. Oh, man, this is rough. You hate to be Deltour in this situation. You're just sitting there going, damn it, I should have mulliganed.
Yeah, it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is disheartening to get really deep and sort of lose when you feel like you've gotten a bit unlucky, but I think it's just so it goes, you know?
Yeah. It's just how things shook out, unfortunately. Uro doing Uro things, drawing so much land. Look at that. I mean, just look at the disparity between these two board states right now. I mean, can he just blow things up here? Not yet, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Don't know if he has the second explosion. There's Nissa who shakes the world. Okay, little glimmer of hope. It's just gonna get nope though. So Teferi Time Raveler once again on the stack is met with a negate. Nothing going for him there. And a massive Shark Typhoon. A 9/9, 6, and a 9. Nice. Can we get some nices in chat, please? Dominic Gertzen, our very first finalist. I mean, he was just kind of, he just had to do the thing that his deck does, right? There was no real like decision-making process too much there. It's just like, oh, you're going to play a thing? Cool, I'm going to counter it. I'm going to just run out something nice the next turn.
Definitely. And it, no matter when you have a deck as good, as powerful, as consistent as Temur Reclamation with cards like, Wilderness Reclamation and Growth Spiral and Expansion Explosion, no matter how hard somebody tries to stop you, no matter how much somebody metagames against you, sometimes your deck's just going to do its thing and you're going to win, And that was one of those times. Like, the floor for a deck like that is so high. The cards are just all so good. The interactions are so strong. And, with also great play like from Dominic, he was able to dispatch the deck that was trying to prey on his deck.
Yeah. Yeah. And now all he has to worry about is another Temur Reclamation player who we'll find out after this break. So, friends, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We've got our second semifinals and then our big finals after that. So we'll see you very soon.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now, I'm joined by Matt, aka Total MTG, content creator and streamer. Matt, where can we find you online?
So you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all under Total MTG.
Straight into some questions here. What is the best color of mana?
Oh, blue, without a doubt. I'm a blue mage.
What's your favorite format?
Currently historic.
Oh, what deck are you playing?
I'm playing a mixture of decks, but I'm currently playing a sacrifice deck, which is it's really fun to play. So using Croxer and stuff like that.
Who is your favorite Planeswalker?
Oh, Jace. Has to be Jace. I'm
Still
sorry,
all
everyone,
blue
it's
all the
Jace.
time with you.
Oh, I'm a blue player.
What is your favorite comfort food?
I'd say pizza. Has to be.
Oh, yeah.
Love pizza.
Is pineapple on pizza okay?
Oh, without a doubt. Love me pineapple. Give me a Hawaiian any day.
Nice. Me too. What are you watching on TV at the moment?
Currently, I'm going through, I'm going through the Marvel movies. So from the start, going from Iron Man all the way through, and I'm up to the last two now. So just 2 more to go. And then it's on to the end game.
What is your favorite sport?
Football.
Who's your team?
Man United supporter.
What is a movie that made you cry?
Green Mile, probably.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty sad film. Yeah.
And one more question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Are you a cat person or a dog person?
Oh, cat, without a doubt. I've got my little cat. She's just next to me. Can't see her, but she's hiding over there.
All right, well, thanks for talking to me, Matt. And once again, where can we find you online?
So you can find Total MTG anywhere. So YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and actually Facebook as well.
My main recommendation, if you want to do well at big tournaments, is to make sure you get enough sleep. I don't think I have ever won more rounds of Magic than the amount of hours of sleep I've gotten at any tournament. Sleepy Magic, it's just not great. Like here, maybe it was the jet lag, but I just didn't get a great night of sleep, and I feel like sleepwalking through all the rounds. It's not great. Whatever you do, make sure that you secure a good spot to get some rest. Go to sleep in time, don't stay up all night, because resting your body and your mind is one of the best ways to make sure that you will play well and do well in the tournaments.
With the help of better player than me at the time, I kind of learned how to not keep the luck as a factor. Basically, whenever I was losing to a top deck or I was losing to an outsider effect, I was not considering that as an unfortunate loss. I was still trying to just learn from what I lost and what I could have learned and could have done better to not find myself in that position of getting top deck out. Basically, never feel sad about a loss that you got out of a luck moment. It really helped me a lot during my career to just remove the luck from whatever happens in Magic or in any game that involves luck.
Welcome back, friends, to Players Tour Online coverage. I'm Ailey Loney alongside Huey Jensen, and we are jumping into our second semifinal. It is Yunus Elorante and Elias Watsfeld, and that is a draw. There we go. So this is a time walk match, friends. Taking a look here at the opening hand here of Yunus. Doesn't like it. Gonna send it back. Finds 2 growth spirals and his sources of mana. So he's pretty happy to keep that. Gonna send back an expansion explosion here, or what's the best pick here to send away?
Maybe the second growth spiral. You only have 2 lands anyway. Expansion Explosion is also fine. You may just be happy to have the second growth spiral, as it simply cycles and can dig to land. Even if you miss with the first one, maybe you get there with the second one.
Yep, so Fabled Passage going to get cracked to find an island. Start digging with growth spirals and hope for the best here. Both players are on Team Reclamation, so it is the Team Reclamation show from here on out, friends. As we just saw Dominic Gertzen make it into the finals. So Expansion Explosion off the top of the library. Growth Spiral doesn't find the third land. So the second Growth Spiral will hopefully have a bit more luck. Finds an Opt. Fire that off, hopefully find an island to be able to cast the Growth Spiral. There we go, Steam Vents. That'll help him out. And then we'll hang on to this Growth Spiral. until we find an opportune time to fire it off. So, any predictions here, Huey? Do you think Team Reclamation is going to win?
You know, I'm not a betting man, but forced to bet, I would take Team Reclamation here.
There we go. Growth Spiral, catching up on those lands. And finding Wilderness Reclamation off the top. You'd love to fire it off, but with 3 open mana from Elias's side, that's a risky biscuit to try and resolve. Last zone putting counters on, getting prepared to blow up some stuff on 4 CMC. And Wilderness Reclamation of his own. Now, this is the juiciest mystical dispute you're going to get at this point, right? There's no reason to Ether Gust away. You're just like, yep, nope. Not having any of that. So Wilderness Reclamation down, untapped mana, able to now interact with the second copy of Wilderness Reclamation. It's got the option to Growth Spiral, try and find another land dispute for later. We're going to have to gust this. So land down, dig deeper. Let's go find our counter spells. We can make a big old shark if we want to. But opting to go for explosion. I think we're just going to see an itty bitty explosion here. No, we're going whole hog. All right. Kaboom. Cool. I'll deal with your expansion. I'll deal with your reclamation later. I'd like to refill my hand, please. Now both players with reclamation on the battlefield. But you got to say advantage to Elorante right now, right, Huey?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just more lands is so indicative of who's winning. The one card that Elias has to fight the Wilderness Reclamation, he can't even use the Blast Zone because it would also kill his own. And the 2 Shark Typhoons in Jonas's hand, he's very, very far ahead.
Yeah. Now we're going to see one of these sharks cycle away, generating a 7/7, finding a stomping ground off the top of the library. So still have some interaction. Ether Gust now going to send away the Wilderness Reclamation. No interest in copying that spell. We have our own Ether Gust that we can use in kind. Wilderness Reclamation coming on back. This is the second one here for Elias. Well, it's not, catching up on lands. It is catching up on mana, as he'll be able to untap and retap twice. And it doesn't look like Eunice is liking that at all. So here we're going to see the expansion, copy the Ether Gust, and a quick concession there from Elias as Eunice picks up the first win here in our second semifinal.
Turns out rather than seeing an expansion, we saw an explosion. Explosion of Elias's head.
Hey, no matter what shape the explosion comes in, if you are the Team of Reclamation player, which both these players are, you're happy to see it. So what's the most important thing in the mirror for people who are going to be encountering a bunch of this over the next week?
So the way you win kind of matches in games like this is by being able to 2 things. One, you need to make your opponent tap mana on their turn. That's very important. Like if you want to be able to land something like a Wilderness Reclamation on your turn. See, there's always the risk if you blink first. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. On my 4th turn, if you have 3 mana up and I just go tap all my mana, Wilderness Reclamation, do you have it? They're like, well, actually, I do have it. I'll Aether Gust it, then I'll untap. I'll play my 4th land, play my Reclamation. Now I untap going into your turn, and you're just kind of up a creek without a paddle, so to speak. On the flip side, you want to be able to cast more spells in a single turn when you get into these counter battles, when it's finally time to go for the big haymaker. So the ramp cards, Growth Spiral, Uro, anything that can pull you ahead and keep you ahead on mana are going to be the things. Even just playing lands for longer than your opponent are going to be the things that are indicative to who has the advantage.
Yeah, that's what we've seen a lot, leading up to these semifinals, is just lands on the battlefield and not much else going. And like you said, whoever blinks first, you have to be able to fight over whatever it is you're doing. And, whoever has the most lands in play and can do the most things per turn is generally the person who's going to end up winning the game. So getting things going here, 3 lands apiece for both of our players. Mystical Disputes in hand. We've got the Growth Spiral fired off here by Elias. And this is quite a hotly debated topic. Growth Spiral, counter or no counter?
It's really contextual. I think one thing people want sometimes in Magic, almost to a fault, is, and I understand it because it's an easy way to learn, right? Like if somebody teaches you math, they go like, when this happens, do this. When this happens, do this. But even things as simple as whether or not to cast Growth Spiral, whether or not to counter Growth Spiral, are so contextual within a game of Magic that it's a very hard question to answer.
Yeah. Let's see, a Baby Shark here, just for 1. Finds a Castle of Vantress off the top of the library, as well as a 2nd copy of Mystical Disputes. So that'll be a welcome sight here as Elias gets ahead a little bit on lands. Baby Shark just gets in for 1.
What Elias does have now is what Jonas does have now is the ability to play the Snipe Pack Ambusher in a turn, which does what I was sort of saying before. It gets your opponent to potentially tap mana on their turn or your turn when you attack or something like that. However, what Elias doesn't have is a follow-up threat.
Yeah.
So even if he were to play this Snipe Pack Ambusher, what Jonas doesn't have is a follow-up threat. So even if what he were to do is play Snipe Pack Ambusher, maybe it gets disputed, maybe it gets gusted. He has nothing in hand to even force through, not like a Wilderness Reclamation or any sort of sorcery speed threat, or even another Snipe Pack Ambusher that he could get through under the guard. So he is going to play it here, and it's likely to get countered, but somewhat unlikely unless Jonas draws something for that exchange to provide a meaningful advantage.
The Mystical Dispute going to take care of the Night Pack Ambusher. No puppy dogs on the battlefield just yet here for Jonas. Castle Vantress down there and just happily pecking away with this little 1/1 in the sky. Got another Shark Typhoon and 2 counter spells in the holster, so holding down the fort, as it were, pretty effectively. And step Scry or Shark? The age-old question. Opts to go for the Scry. Let's take a look. See what the top cards are. Ooh, Commence the Endgame and Negate. That's nice.
Those are both very good cards, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Elias might be considering an expansion explosion for 3 on the Shark.
Yeah, just get some cards. Exactly right. Baby Shark down. Bunch of cards in hand. Tapped out. Elias. Jonas just happy to pass the turn back and hold on to that. Commence the endgame for dear life. Whee! Let's draw some cards. Let's make a big ol'... Oh, well, that's just rude, Ashiok's Erasure. Never mind. So countering, commence the endgame. Oh, not countering, but yoinking it out of midair.
It's gone. Let's just agree it's gone and move on. Yeah. It's been gone. Erased.
Yeah, it's been erased. Ashiok. Rude. So unfortunately, no big ol' threat on the battlefield. No extra cards. All we've got now is a shark. Gonna make its way into the battlefield here. How big is this shark? 5? 4-4?
4-4, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so 4-4 can get him for some decent hits. It's got to be careful of a counter shark. But I think irrespective, you're still just swinging in and, forcing their hand. Do you think there's ever any consideration to hard cost Shark Typhoon at any point?
The only time it could have happened was 2 turns ago where Jonas passed to play commence the end game because Elias had cast Explosion for 3 on the end step to kill the shark. So the shields are completely down. That being said, I think I still wouldn't have done it. I think I would have done the same thing as Jonas, but maybe that was one of the only times we'll even be interested in considering a play like that.
We have a bigger shark on the battlefield now, as a second one here for Jonas is scried to the top of the library. This is his third, I believe. But paying the life, keeping the shark back. Oh boy. It's a shark war, friends. Oh, and the wolves have joined the party. I mean, you gotta get rid of that, right?
Well, it's not that simple. How do you get rid of it?
You'd have to. You can't. You have to use like 2 counters on it, but then you die to. Oh, I don't know. Here comes the attack, Shark Typhoon. How big can we make this shark?
This one's going to have to be like a 6-6 or a 5-5, I think. Oh, he's going to make a 1-1.
Okay.
Fair enough. And then he'll trade with the ambusher and jump the shark. But then he'll need a brazen borrower pretty much right away to deal with the 8-8.
So just a reminder, friends, if you are just joining us, we are trying to find our second finalist here for Players Tour Online to meet Dominic Goodson in the finals. There's a brazen borrower taking out that shark. We're going to see expansion on the petty theft.
Yeah, for a second it looked like he was just going to counter it, but it's actually kind of like a blessing.
Yeah.
Now he can expansion it onto the shark, and then he can fight the counter war over it. And if he's able to win, he may be able to kill both of the creatures on Elias's side.
Yeah, that'll be pretty damn big here for Eunice if he's able to pull it off. Still so much untapped mana on that side. 2 cards in hand. It's allowed to resolve, so Big Shark is going away.
No, I agree. I just go ahead and negate it.
Yeah. 2 mana up for Mystical Disputes. What do we have here for Elias? There's another negate. Negate on negate. Let's get some Mystical Dispute in there. Why not? No.
He can't do anything because Elias has well over 6 mana.
Yeah.
So he could just pay for both.
Ah, man.
Well, that's going to be lethal, I think.
Yeah. So no way out there for Eunice.
Oh,
never mind. We spoke too soon. Ether Gust. Do you have any more nopes in hand? No, that's a bug.
No, those are both in the Adventure Zone. They both just got
cast
Adventure
Zone?
Theft.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Fine. You're forgiven, Arena. There we go. Okay, so Ether Gust is just going to send us away. We can scry, but that doesn't do anything. So, yeah, clinging on here for dear life. Looking for that 2. Oh, here comes Brazen Bar number 1 and number 2.
So the question is, do you want to do this? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Scry?
If you scry, you lose Expansion Explosion as an out.
Yeah.
You can scry into Uro and live to fight another day.
Like,
yeah. You can still hit an Uro or Expansion Explosion to survive.
Oof.
All right, now you're down to just Uro or removal spell. Okay, that's it.
That ain't it. All right, so we're going to game number 3 here in the second semifinal. It is Elias Watsfeld versus Jonas Elranta, excuse me. Teamer Reclamation aplenty. So if you like Teamer Reclamation, boy, are you in the right place. Oof, that was a nail biter for sure.
Good asked earlier about people boarding out Reclamation. You can see Jonas has 2 right now of the starting 4 in his deck. So I think that's pretty common. People shave on them because you just don't want to draw too many early in the game.
Yeah.
It's one of the easiest ways to get punished in the matchup.
All right, so here we go, friends. Game number 3. Elias Watsfeld versus Jonas Elranta. Making their way to the finals. One of these players is going to face off against Dominic Gurtsen. It'll be interesting to see what Players Tour 2 has in store for us, because apparently Sultai was a lot more prevalent. So.
Yeah, I think Teamer was 40% in this one, and the second one it was only like 31% or something like that. And Sultai was the second most popular deck in PT2, whereas in PT1 I think it was banned.
Yeah. Here we go. Ooh, that's a nice looking opening hand. Got some Growth Spiral, some interaction, and counter spells. What we like to call a sneap. Ooh, nice. And another Growth Spiral off the top. So we're going to get ramping pretty quickly here. Also able to get our blue source down and keep up a Mystical Dispute. Growth Spiral into Growth Spiral. Sure, why not? And a Blast Zone. Damn, look at that ramp. Nice. Now, be rude and just Mystical Dispute that. I would totally do that. And so stopping any ramp there from Elias's side does Jonas, as he is setting himself up for something like Commence the Endgame. How's it going? I think you're just going to see him pass the turn back, just wait to see what Elias does, and then hopefully find another land with Growth Spiral. Can't counter that one this time.
This is, of course, one of the downsides to countering Growth Spiral. If your opponent ever has redundant copies and they get to ramp right back up to you, then you've sort of wasted one of your best answers. And
And Steps Cry here with Castle Ventress finds a land and a Shark Typhoon on the top of the library, so quite happy to see both of those stay. Gets a 6 mana. Nightpack Ambusher. Ooh, Nelly. Okay. That's fine. Now, do we try and get this off the battlefield, or are we just going straight for Commence the Endgame on their turn?
Probably you're going to have to use Brazen Borrower. You kind of just can't let Nightpack Ambusher sit out there attacking you, making 3/3 every turn.
Yeah. No.
Even the Petty Theft that obviously doesn't deal with it permanently, but it does slow it down a lot.
Yeah.
Because there'll be no wolf this turn, and potentially you won't even take 4 damage.
Mm-hmm. They go to combat. Nightpack Ambusher swings in for the attack. Here we see Petty Theft taking care of the Nightpack Ambusher, sending it back to hand. It can be recast, but, as you said, no dog this turn then. Here comes Brazen Borrower. Now a threat on the battlefield for Elorante as well.
The second Brazen Borrower here is actually pretty threatening. 2 different creatures doing in total 6 damage to you in the air every turn, especially if this Petty Theft is able to bounce Nightpack Ambusher again. Mm-hmm. It changes it such that Jonas is winning the race, which makes things a lot more difficult for Elias.
Yeah, so Elias has got to have to hope here for a counterspell or something to fend off against this second copy of Petty Theft. Looks like he's just going to go to the end step here. And commence the end game. Nice.
No Ashiok's Erasure this time.
Oh, nice. Okay. So created the dog. Is able to Petty Theft it and get a Brazen Borrower down. Ooh-wee. Alright, so Expansion Explosion off the top of the library. Gonna have to find some way to deal with this doggo and his friends. Also now I have to deal with a Brazen Borrower in the air. So what's going through both players' minds at this point, do you think, Yui?
Well, I think Jonas is thinking, what is my best strategy to deal with this stuff? Like, the Brazen Borrower and play can trade for the Brazen Borrower, but he has no clean answers to the Nightpack Ambusher. Like, he can literally he can bounce it, but he doesn't even have a way to answer it on the way back down. I suspect Jonas is thinking maybe a little bit like what I was thinking about is, I wonder if I play my land tapped, if I'm more likely to get my opponent to attack into this Shark Typhoon. Like, I wonder if the best I can do is a 4/4, if I can get my opponent to think, well, if he had a Shark Typhoon, he would have played that land untapped to try to eat my Nightpack Ambusher. So now I'm going to attack. And then maybe I could have just cashed in this Shark Typhoon for 4 as a trade, as opposed to now where, okay, yeah, you can play this Brazen Borrower, this Petty Theft again, but like I said, you don't really have anything to do on the way back down. Now, I'm not saying I would have done that, but it's just what was going through my mind.
One clean answer for the Nightpack Ambusher will be a little slow as a Blast Zone. But again, then you're almost taking off a turn just to get those counters added onto it. So Growth Spiral here. Fatal Passage down on the battlefield. Get some extra land in there. At some point we'll be able to Expansion Explode the puppy dog, but I don't even know if that's that's the best way to deal with this dog.
Also, before that Fable Passage, there was only 1 red on Jonas's side.
And so passes the turn back. The return of the Nightpack Ambusher. Almost inevitable. Unless Elias chooses to scry here. I would personally love to see a hard cost Typhoon, but knowing this matchup, it's not going to sit down very long. Now the growth spiral here from Elias finds another land. Onto the battlefield it goes. Toss a turn back, so no Nightpack Ambusher down. Looks like he's setting himself up for something else here.
Well, after he decided to cast Chemist's Insight, he didn't want to tap out and open the door to Jonas doing something like, like you said earlier, Explosion the Ambusher for 5 and draw 5 or something like that, because that's basically the worst case scenario for Elias.
Mm. Both players taking the super cautious approach right now, just deep in the tank here as they're trying to figure out the best way to navigate this matchup. Just a reminder to all of those who are joining us right now that this is the second semifinal. We are trying to find our second finalist to go and face Dominic Gertsen in the finals. So while both players do their things, a question I want to ask you, Huey. If Lyra was a pupper in Magic the Gathering, would she want to be a wolf, a hound, a dog, a fox? What are the
a dog for sure. I'm pretty sure she's just a dog. She's like maybe that little ferocious pup. Like she thinks she's a tough guy sometimes, or she thinks she's a tough little girl sometimes, and she's just like once in a while she'll get mad at me, like if I'm not paying enough attention to her, and she'll be like, "Does
she complain at you?" Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh, you're real scary, Lyra. Way to go! I'm gonna do what you want now."
Sometimes the roof is all you need.
Yeah.
Like every time I get up to take a break, it's always my cat wants to play, so she sits there on the couch and meows at me until I do. Like, fine, okay. That's a big old shark swinging in for 7 points of damage. Down to 8 goes Elias. He's got wolves on the battlefield, but there's a shark in the sky, so he needs to find a way to deal with that ASAP. Also have the Brazen Bar that he can deploy next turn, or whenever he wants to, really. Just now, is there anything else he wants to do right now? Is this Wilt just kind of hanging out in case there's a Wilderness Reclamation, or do you think he's safe to just cycle it?
Well, I think he has to cycle it. He just needs to find ways to deal with the cards that are actually beating him right now. Fossil Vantress scrying once again. Do we find anything off the top of the library here for Elias? 2 top. Okay. Likes those cards. Let's see what you got. The 7 points of damage coming in. This would take Jonas down to 7, because I know maths. Maths is hard. I was looking at other numbers there. What could he have? So here comes the attack. No follow-up shark here for Eloranta. Down to 7. Nightpack Ambushers trigger on the stack. Gonna make himself some friends. He's gotta have something to deal with the shark and this Brazen Borrower that's gonna get flashed in here now.
So now threatening lethal.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to fire off this Chemist's Insight, possibly ditch the Stomping Ground or the Wilt. Stomping Ground's going to go. Oh, we found a Nightpack Ambusher of our own. That's pretty neat. The Tree of Triumph off the top of the library. So, Elias, what you got? You gotta have something. Is it a shark? It is indeed. It is a baby shark. Just a little 1-1 being made.
So
jumping the way of the 7-7.
Does Jonas go for the explosion for 1 on the shark?
Yeah.
Looks like it. Can't cast a second explosion for 1 just because of the lack of red mana.
Yeah. Poor little shark. It's not long for this world. Does Elias have a way to stop this from happening? Still has the option to expand explosion, or no. Explosion's more than what it can do. Ether Gust, though.
Ether Gust is brutal because you can't use the second expansion to do anything with it. It doesn't help you at all. I think.
Is he gonna have to rely on Nightpack Ambusher now, right?
Yeah, to trade, but it's much more. It's a much tougher situation. He may be best off cycling a Wilt. It's a really tough spot. Try to hit a counter or another Petty Theft.
Yeah, Petty Theft to get the shark out the way. Oh man, such decisions. This is a very, very tricky spot here for Jonas Eloranta. Both players at 1 game apiece, looking for their second win to get into the finals. Big decision here. Do we wilt or do we play this Nightback Ambusher and hope that's enough? Shark Typhoon resolves. The 1-1 sits. Man, I'm getting nervous here for these guys. Baby Shark is going to kill the Brazen Borrower, it seems. In for 7. Down to 1 goes Elias. And what is the follow-up? This gets countered. It is game over. Okay. Here comes another Shark Typhoon for 3 in the sky.
Which is also game over.
Gonna do it. Yeah. So Elias went down to 1. Fought over that baby shark. Makes his own second bigger shark. And is going to swing in here for the victory. Oh, man. That was a really, really close game. Ether Gust as well. Oh, wait. No. Why? Expansion copying Ether Gust. Going to send away the dog, but we have a negate as backup. So that is all she wrote for that match. Ooh, my nerves. My nerves. Oh, well, friends, we have our second finalist now. So all that's left is to jump into the finals, but we're going to take a quick break. When we come back after that, we're going to be on the news desk with BDM. So don't go anywhere, and then we will see who wins in our finals here of Players Tour Online. See you soon.
Hello and welcome to The Bold, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. Right now I'm joined by member of the MPL and part of Team CFB, Martin Yuza. Martin, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Where can people find you online?
So you can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/MartinYuza, my name. Same on Twitter, also twitter.com/my name. And on Instagram, it is instagram.com/YuzaMTG.
Awesome. We'll get straight into some questions. What is the best color of mana?
Blue.
What is the worst deck you've ever played in a top 8?
In a top 8? Does that include limited?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure I've had plenty bad draft decks in GP top 8s that were limited. As far as constructed goes, so it's not necessarily the worst deck, but at Pro Tour Austin in the top 8, my constructed deck was this really fast Zoo deck, but I wasn't sure which hate cards to include in my sideboard for dredge decks, for graveyard decks. So I put one of each of Yixilid Jailer, Tormod Script, and Revenus Trap, thinking, okay, well, I'm not sure which one is the best. I'm just going to play one of each. And then in the quarterfinals, I drew one of my 3 Gedactiques, and in combination with Revenus Trap that I couldn't play because I had a Gedactique in play. So that was really, really bad, and I should have definitely thought about that before I registered my deck.
Do you have a favorite format?
My favorite format is Booster Draft. It's the most fun. Every deck is different. Every draft is different.
What's the best draft format or draft set?
The best draft format is Time Spiral Block.
What's the best color combo?
Simic, blue-green.
Do you have a favorite tribe?
Elves.
What inspired you to start playing Magic?
It was in high school. All of my friends, or like most of my friends in the class, were playing this interesting game, and I started watching them, asking questions, and eventually I got hooked. And yeah, now here I am.
And one last question: aggro or control?
Aggro.
All right. Thanks very much, Martin. Appreciate you talking to me.
No problem.
Leyline of the Void again.
Turn 0 Leyline for Yoel Larsen. Glogowski going to kick things off with Fabled Passage into Drowned Catacomb, and so a Thoughtseize is going to reveal Larsen's hand, and it is a stinker. Look at that. 4 lands, Mystical Dispute and Jace. This Leyline of the Void is going to have to do some heavy lifting for the Swedish superstar.
Yeah, Jace is going to hit the bin. Mystical Dispute, something that Piotr has to account for the rest of the game. Of course, it can be annoying. Also, Piotr has a Dig Through Time in his hand, and with the Leyline of the Void on the battlefield, that's not where you want to be.
Off the top, can he find the 6/6, the Mythic, out of nowhere? A brief pause from the judge with no sense of timing.
I think he's going to try to play the Dig Through Time and find both Inverter and Thassa's Oracle.
That's what we're seeing here. That's what we're seeing.
I think that's what he's going to go for, because I think the Jace will die to an attack of the Uro.
Can he find an Inverter of Truth? It will win the game for him. On the spot, it was the last card. It was the last card of
It's not over yet, Ryle. It's not over. Yoel can still draw this card. He can draw a Disdainful Stroke as well. Remember, he's going to have 2 draws with the Uro attack. Not just 1, 2.
This is tough here for Glogowski.
There's a huge crowd next to that. You could see the audible, oh.
Yep. You can hear them just off camera there like that. They're on a slight delay so as not to alert the players as to what's going on. And you could hear that was a big whiff. A big whiff. Here it comes. This is going to win Yoel Larsen, the Players Tour Final. Sat Wayfinder, the only blocker available. Crack a clue, put a counter on the Tireless Tracker, and that is the game. Yoel Larsen has seen it. Everyone has seen it. Glogowski has seen it. And that is that. The champion of Players Tour Europe is the Swedish superstar, Yoel Larsen. What a performance from him. Oh, my goodness.
Welcome back to the News Desk. Brian David Marshall here with Masters champion William Huey Jensen. Huey, been pretty exciting. We've watched the players make their way through this top 8. If you're a Teamer Rec fan, I've got great news for you. 2 Teamer Rec decks in the finals. Let's take a look at our bracket and talk about what we've seen so far in this top 8. What are some of the things that stood out to you from the quarterfinals?
Well, I thought basically the story of the tournament was the Bant deck from Luis Samuel del Toro. I think going into the top 8, there's a lot of people I root for in this top 8, and a lot of people I would be happy and still would be happy to see win. However, when you have sort of the big bad menace, it sort of turns into the David and Goliath storyline. You've got Goliath, Team of Reclamation with 6 copies in top 8, and you have David, Bant Ramp, with 2 copies trying to knock him off. Shinsuke Hayashi succumbed quickly to Dominic Geertsen, and so at that point, Luis Samuel Del Toro was sort of the last hope to not let Team of Rec overrun the tournament. He'd been playing so well all weekend. He had an interesting deck with interesting choices to try to win the matchup. But even given all that, Dominic Geertsen was able to take him out in three close games in the semifinals.
Yeah, a deck that really stood out to me from the quarters was Jingwoo Cho's kind of like, I've been just calling it ink shredder reclamation to sort of stress that there were 4 colors in it, and somehow managed to get both a Blast Zone and a Teferi into that deck list.
Yeah,
so
I think
that was kind of cool.
I was sort of looking at that mana base, thinking to myself, how could he do it? And I think basically what he decided was he was going to play a lot more of as a combo deck. He skimped, it seemed to me, on red mana, which is fine, because really the only red card in the deck is Explosion. And given all that, you can see he has 1 Mountain, 4 Fabled Passage, 1 Stomping Ground, and 8 Tree Elms to get red. But with Wilderness Reclamation in play, you only need 1 land that taps for red mana in order to cast your Explosion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke, by the way. I thought there had been a Blast Zone in here, but I think that sanity prevailed, and there wasn't. Okay, good.
That's fine. So I guess from my perspective, he just decided that he's not going to worry too much about getting 2 red, and he'll get it through with the Reclamation. Not that having 10 is impossible to draw 2 with, but it's not going to be as consistent as some of the normal Team of Reclamation decks. And I think that's just fine. I think he's going to operate more with Wilderness Reclamation plus Explosion on that axis, but come prepared with 3 main deck Teferi Time Raveler for the mirror, where it seems to have been winning games left and right in all kinds of matchups.
So by the time we got through the semifinals, all of the non-traditional Team of Rec decks had fallen by the wayside. We've got 2 Team of Rec decks now in the finals. Let's take a look at Elias Watsfeld's take on the deck, and tell me if there's anything that is interesting to you here that maybe feels like unique to this build.
From my perspective, it's pretty standard, but also the fact that it's standard is kind of interesting, if that makes sense. You have Aether Gust, which is, when you read a card like Aether Gust, it looks like a sideboard card, right? Like, you don't put this card in your main deck because you can only cast it against people who play red and green. And so I'll just board it in against red and green decks. And you have Mystical Dispute, which, counter target spell, unless its controller pays 3, which is not really what you want to be spending 3 mana on, but it's good against blue decks. So, you can see somebody making a metagame call. I think there's going to be a lot of Gruul decks, so I play Aether Gust. I think there's going to be a lot of blue decks, so I play Mystical Dispute. Well, lo and behold, Teamer players are showing up with both. And I think that's just indicative of how strong this deck is and how powerful both this deck and Bant are, both decks containing green and blue. Or maybe it's just an indication of how good Simic and, frankly, by extension, Growth Spiral is, I think, in Standard. That people are willing to play anti-blue and anti-Gruul cards in their main deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's take a look at how Dominic Geertsen approached his version of the deck and see if it looks very different.
So it looks to me like the major differences here are Scorching Dragonfires in the main deck instead of Aether Gusts. Now, there might be 1s and 2s off. I'm pretty sure that Elias had 2 negates and Dominic has 1 neutralize, 1 negate. That's fine. Whatever, But I think the big difference is Dominic was a little bit more prepared for creatures, whereas Elias was more prepared for the card Wilderness Reclamation. And I think for that reason, I would give, at least in the first game of the matchup, Elias a bit of a deck advantage, but certainly nothing insurmountable.
I can tell you that I'm friends with, Simon and Simon's wife, Claudia, and I was talking to Claudia online, and she said she's been watching Simon play Magic for a very, very long time and has never, ever seen him get nervous. Not even facing off against LSV in the Pro Tour that he won, nothing. But watching Dominic play in the top 8 from home and rooting for his brother, first time the 2 brothers have had a chance to play in the same Pro Tour, even though they're about 5 hours apart while they're playing right now. She said Simon was actually just like chewing on his fingernails.
Yeah, I
watching.
Doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, you've certainly had that experience, cheering on your teammates, your close friends, watching. I'm sure you can empathize. And just but just a cool story as these two brothers both made the top 8 here. Not something we've seen happen very often in Magic, and an opportunity for the two brothers to both hold major titles in Magic. I think maybe only the Zink brothers, also from Germany, do that. We have a Zink brother who's a World Team champion and a Zink brother who's a Pro Tour champion. I think that's the only. I guess Antoine and Olivier probably both have a major title. I know Antoine's won a Pro Tour. I don't think Olivier has. I'd have to check what his team events. Anyway,
I'm not sure.
We'll see. It's a pretty rare occurrence, and Dominic has a chance to do that here if he can win one more match. But staying in his way is the player Simon said should no longer be called just the draft master. Just call him a straight up master. It's Elias Watsfeld. So we've got a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and you and Alias will be taking us through the finals, and we will see who wins Players Tour Online #1.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now I'm joined by the Asian Avenger, streamer extraordinaire. And where can we find you online?
The Asian Avenger at everything. Twitch.tv/The Asian Avenger, Twitter, The Asian Avenger, Instagram, also The Asian Avenger.
Easy. All right, let's get into some questions. Do you have a favorite Magic deck ever?
I think one of my favorite decks of all time will probably be Caw-Blade or Azorius Control from Return to Ravnica. But if we're talking EDH, I probably have to go with my Amanatu deck or my Lazav the Multifarious deck.
What is your favorite color combination?
Grixis.
Do you have
it's always got to be Grixis.
Yeah. That's your thing, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Magic art?
My favorite Magic art. I think it would be weird if I didn't say the card Grinning Demon. I mean, I even have it tattooed on my forearm. So,
do you have a favorite tribe?
Fairies. Well, actually, hold on. Are counterspells a tribe?
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay, so then with more of a traditional tribe. So then we're gonna go with fairies.
All right.
We're gonna go with fairies.
All right.
Or demons. Oh man, I'm conflicted. I love both of those. All right, you know what? We'll go with fairy demon. Someday that'll happen.
Yeah, well, I won't hold my breath.
Yeah.
What is your favorite planeswalker, or who is your favorite planeswalker?
I mean, is it Nicol Bolas or is it Teferi?
Well, Bolas is Grixis.
Yeah, like I'm gonna go with Bolas. But like Teferi is coming in pretty close.
What is your dream vacation destination?
I probably want to go to Lorwyn.
Oh, okay. Why Lorwyn?
Are we talking about real life or are we talking about
No, that's fine. You can go to Lorwyn.
Okay, because the answer would stay the same, I guess.
Mario or Sonic?
Let's go with Waluigi.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
Waluigi.
And one last question. Do you have a movie that makes you cry?
I think one that has consistently made me cry since forever has always been Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, yeah.
A very sad anime movie. Like it is heavy. It's a heavy movie.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks very much for talking to me. And once again, where can we find you on the internet?
Just at The Asian Avenger on everything between Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. Awesome. Thanks again.
To help me get over the hump at Pro Tours and Grand Prix is more than just knowing what I should sideboard, is why I should sideboard that way. Taking a step back and realizing where I wanted to be in each matchup, what cards matter, what cards didn't, and really putting in the time to make sure I had that breadth of knowledge. So it helped me my limited game immensely, where sideboarding is a lot more intricate and nuanced, and there's not really any guides for that. And that's kind of what helped me get to the a 6-0 at Pro Tour Dominaria and the draft formats there. So it's hard to do overnight, but if you play enough games, you'll kind of get an idea of what you need to do and what cards are going to win games. So that's my advice, and hopefully it helps folks at home.
Welcome back to Players Tour Online coverage, my friends. It is the finals, and we have Dominic Gurtzen versus Elias Watsfeld coming right up, and it is Teamer Reclamation mirror match. Now, Huey, having seen both these players making their run through the top 8 here, who do you think has the slightly better tuned list? Who do you think has the upper hand? What are your predictions for this matchup?
So I think Elias has a little bit of a better main deck. That being said, I think that it's certainly not an overpowering advantage or anything like that. Both players definitely have a chance to win. I don't really know Dominic on a personal level. I'm not that familiar with his game. I am familiar with Elias. I know he's a very strong player. I do know Simon's a very strong player, so I'm sure it's maybe the Geertsen pedigree. So I don't really. I have no horse in the race. I'm sure. Like I said, deck advantage, very slight to Elias. But I'm just hoping for some good games.
Yeah, same. So if both players are ready to rock and roll, let's jump straight into this final of Players Tour number 1. Here we go. Dominic Gurtzen versus Elias Watsfeld. Who is going to be our winner? Winner chicken dinner. One thing I do know is that Teamer Reclamation is going to win. I can say that pretty confidently. Take a look at the opening hands here. We've got Wilderness Reclamation, Scorching Dragonfire, which you pointed out is probably not the best card for the main deck configuration in this Teamer Rec deck. We do have Expansion Explosion and Shark Typhoon though, so happy to keep this hand is Dominic Gurtzen as we get this game underway. Kick things off with like a Tria Triome, just to make sure we can play all of our lands on curve. Finds an Expansion Explosion off the top of the library. There is Temple of Mystery sending a Shark Typhoon to the bottom of the library.
Yeah, Dominic just basically looking for any land card to the top there and any non-land to the bottom, in my opinion.
He's got a Shark Typhoon that he can cycle for 0. Growth Spiral from Elias, though, will catch him up in the mana department if he's got a land in hand. Yeah, I'd be tempted to expand that too. Thank you.
Especially with a redundant copy.
Yeah. And what's kind of cheeky there is if he could have negated that too if he wanted to crack those 2 Fable Passages and just prevent any draw there from Elias. Ooh, yes please, but that's a far tastier thing to negate, as we're going to crack those Fable Passages and negate Wilderness Reclamation. Nice. All right, so far so good here for Dominic, able to land this Wilderness Reclamation, untap with Shenanigans in hand. Let's see what Elias can do about this. Temple of Mystery Scry. Let's try and find some way to interact with that as a Shark Typhoon gets cycled. Making a little 3/3. Well, I say a little. It's a relatively sized shark. It's decent size.
Moderately sized.
Moderately sized shark, yes. I think it switches over at 3 to be a moderately sized shark from Baby Shark. The Thassa's Intervention, just taking a look at top cards of the library. Find a neutralize. Say again?
Sorry. I was going to say, I think I like opt here and just try really hard to hit a land. Might be a little bit greedy, but I think you definitely want to play a land. And if you hit one, you can actually get slightly more value even from this Expansion Explosion.
Yeah, so forced to discard 2 cards here. Doesn't get the extra land down on the battlefield. Uro in the bin. Holds onto that Scorching Dragonfire. Yay! We got to see it. Shark Typhoon, just hardcast. Now we're going to see a bunch of baby sharks in the sky. Heck yeah. You seem surprised there.
No, I'm just trying to
I'm not surprised. I'm just deep in thought.
Ooh, second wilderness reclamation. That's going to get sent to the bottom, though. What is he digging for?
Well, he wants to find another expansion explosion for sure. He needs a way to finish the game. He's going to be able to attack Elias down to 8 this turn and untap all his lands. He has a little bit of dig with the growth spiral and a triome. I guess he's just going to play the triome. He needs to he should be able to, I think, over the next couple turns before the Shark Typhoon really becomes a problem, I think he should be able to pretty well fill up his hand, dig through his deck, and sort of be in an overpowering position with 2 copies of Wilderness Reclamation, such that when he's able to find the explosion to force it through and make sure it resolves.
Yeah. We're never going to see Scorching Dragonfire in here to take care of Uro permanently.
Not because of the Shark Typhoon. The Scorching Dragonfire can just pick off like a little shark, like a 1/1 or whatever. Yeah. This shark, for example, just to force damage through.
We got 9 points of it coming through next turn. Forget the shark out the way. 3 mana left up, though, representing potential counter spells. Here comes a Growth Spiral. Finds a Blast Zone. Like, I want to kill that. Little indecisive there. Just not entirely sure if that's the shark he wants to kill. Considering there might be a follow-up shark coming. Mystical Dispute. Yes, indeed. Gonna pay the 3 for it, though, but, we have a bigger shark now. So, pretty sure Elias is okay with that. Now, Thessa's Intervention helps him dig. Can get through for 3 points of damage at least if the baby shark blocks Uro.
Yeah, he can like attack with both, I have to think. Depends what gets blocked. Okay, so he goes to 5. So if he plays another Wilderness Reclamation, he has that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 4 is 10, so 26 mana. He needs 9, so 17. So I think he can cast Thessa's Intervention for 15 and still have mana to Explosion for 5, which I think I would be inclined to just do that.
Seems good.
It's possible.
That's QQ.
It's possible I didn't do that math correctly, but let's see. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 26. He needs 9, 17. So yeah, I think double checking, I got the same result, which is he's able to cast Thessa's Intervention for 15. It looks like he's just going to opt to blow up the Shark Typhoon.
Yeah.
And leave 2 counters in his hand, which is reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't need to extend himself too far here. You can just wait next turn to finish out this match. All right, let's make some bum bums. So this is not the pew pew that, we don't love to see from Expansion Explosion, but things are certainly going to go kaboom as we're setting ourselves up to blow up that Shark Typhoon. Boom. There we go. That's one way to something a fish. I don't know. Blast Zone is now off the table as well as the Shark Typhoon. So what does Elias have to follow up with here? He's going to have to get something going, possibly his own shark. Thessa's Intervention is just going to take a peek on top of the library here, find that explosion, and end in explosive fashion, like we're all hoping for. Wants to keep up the neutralize here.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, he has he has access to 9 mana, so to leave up Neutralize, he could still cast this for 4. He does find the expansion explosion, so.
All right. Well, let's do the thing. First things first, Uro swinging on in. Likely going to be met by a baby shark. It's a big old shark, and we're just going to go kaboom. The opportunity presents itself. Pew, 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 pew. Easy peasy. Here we go, game number 2. Dominic Gertzen up a game, in this finals here of Players Tour Online 1.
Now, this is really good for him to win the first game. Obviously, it's good to win any game, but he gets to actually take the Dragonfires out of his deck, make room for more Aether Gust, Negates, Mystical Disputes, Nightpack Ambushers, and so on.
Let's see what changes are made here. Taking out those Mystical Disputes. Bringing in the gates. Nice. Here come the wolves. So pretty good win there for Dominic. Oh no, did the wolves come out again? Oh. All right, here we go. Game number 2. Dominic Gertzen versus Elias Watsfeld, both on Temur Reclamation. Pretty decent looking hand.
Yeah, pretty good hand. No Growth Spiral. You're on the draw, so really hoping that Elias on the play doesn't have Growth Spiral if you're Dominic.
Having seen what this Players Tour has come to in this Players Tour number 1, what do you think that the metagame is going to shift a little bit to get a little bit more aggressive, get underneath this list, or
nope?
Do you think it's going to more of the same?
I think we'll see more weapons for mirrors and for Bant, and from the Bant perspective, it'll be more, maybe some of the sideboard cards shift to the main deck.
Yeah.
Even from like a perspective of a list like LSDs, I think maybe we're looking at just more of like an arms race. I don't know that aggro is going to take over, but I guess we'll see.
Apologies, friends. We're just having a slight technical hiccup. We try to get this game back underway. There we go. So opt on the end step, sees a Katria Trio. I'm going to send that to the bottom of the library. Finds another opt. And an expansion explosion. Both players just getting their lands set up. One thing I was quite surprised with in this tournament, we saw quite the resurgence of Jeong's Sacrifice, but there weren't any very memorable or notable finishes. I think 10 was the best finish for Jeong's Sacrifice.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it did that well overall. I suspect part of the problem is I just don't think the deck is very good against Temur Rec. I mean, Temur Rec ended up being a massive percentage of the field. I really am not sure how Jeong is versus Bant. Probably also just okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you got to win real quick against that matchup if you want to beat them with Jund. So it's a pity, but yeah, Temur Reclamation has just shown how dominant it is. And it's going to be interesting to see if there's anything that can pip it off its post, because here we're about to crown our first champion. And one of them is both playing Team Reclamation. Shark Typhoon! Gonna get cycled. In response, Fatal Passage cracked. Let's get a little critter on this battlefield and start doing some damage. In for 3, down to 15 goes Dominic. Castle Vantress off the top. All right, so now we can start scrying. Sure up our draws here a little bit for Dominic.
Choosing not to, interestingly enough.
Ooh, 9-pack Ambusher. Hey, buddy. So there's the option to Ether Gust. Worried about a Mystical Dispute, though, it seems. So rather...
No, Mystical Dispute doesn't really do anything because he has enough mana to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's more like...
What's he worried about?
If he Ether Gusts now, then Elias can draw it right away and play it again. But if he waits, Elias will have the opportunity to fight over it. But on the flip side, if the Ether Gust happens, he won't be able to play it until for an additional turn. So he'll buy more time at the cost of potentially losing the counter war.
So 2 combats, the wolf and the shark. 2 best friends in this list. Not attacking for fear of a big shark. And on the end step now, we see the gust. Very indecisive about it. But here we go, Ether Gust now. 9-pack Ambusher is going to get sent back unless Elias fights over it. If he wins the war, importantly, though, the token will not be generated. So token gets to stay on the battlefield. 9-pack Ambusher on top of the library.
Really not much going on in this game for Dominic. Like, he has this expansion explosion and negate, but it's really hard to stack threats when one is expansion explosion. Because realistically, until you're paying 6 or 7 mana on the front half, it just doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Negate doesn't interact at all with Nightpack Ambusher. It might take 2 turns of using this blast zone. And there's another Nightpack Ambusher on top of the deck. I think we're almost definitely heading to a 3rd game here.
For sure. This is not looking great here for Dominic. No way to get these dogs off the battlefield. Wolves, excuse me. Yes, the wolves are still wolves. And we're going to see an explosion here. Taking care of the shark. Drawing some cards. Hoping to find something off the top of the library to help him out here. Mystical Dispute says, no, thank you very much to that. I like my battlefield just the way it is. And I'm going to stick another Nightpack Ambusher on top of it for good measure.
You could tell from the priority again that Elias has a copy of Expansion Explosion in hand too, so Dominic is in these right now.
Oh yeah. Got Growth Spiral to dig through the library, finds a land though. Castle Vantress down. This hand is pretty terrible looking. If I was allowed to swear right now, I would. Because this is a pretty awful looking hand. Here comes the big old swing. So much damage coming in. Katria Triumph cycled. What do we find? It's an Ether Gust, so we can try and send something away. And then fight over it. But, yeah, this isn't looking super good. And for 10 if this resolves. Down to 5. And an extra pooch joins the fray as we find a Growth Spiral on the top of the library. Gonna fire that off, try and see what we can find. Ugh, it's another land, so yeah, this is all but over here now for Dominic Gertzen as we tie things up here at a game apiece in our finals of Players Tour Online #1. All right, so not the best game there for...
Yeah, Dominic just didn't get much going. He didn't really draw his important cards. He drew the wrong situational cards, like he drew the negate against the Nightpack Ambusher. But it looks like one more game for all the marbles.
For all the marbles.
Dominic this time is doing a more traditional approach, maybe because maybe he prefers this on the play, but not on the draw with the ambushers, because he didn't have them last time on the draw. A more traditional strategy, boarding out a couple wrecks and boarding in the ambushers, it looks like. He also had Uros out on the draw, which makes sense. You actually don't really want to play Uro on the third turn very often, because if your opponent does something like dispute it and then untap and play Wilderness Reclamation, it's an easy way to lose the game. So Uro much worse on the draw in this matchup. But now that he's on the play, he looks like he's going to try to be a bit more aggressive, have his creatures, and see what happens.
Yeah. Alrighty, here we go, friends. Game number 3 in our finals of Players Tour Online number 1. Taking a look at this opening hand, we've got Negate, Shark Typhoon, Uro, and a Wilderness Reclamation. So pretty nice looking hand we got going there. Mulligan for Elias. And we are underway. Temple of Mystery takes a look at the top of the library. It's the steam vents. That'll stay right where it is. So with Mystical Dispute in hand, is he free and clear here to run out the Uro, or is something else that he'd like to potentially do this turn?
Well, the challenge here is if you play the Uro, in response, Elias plays Growth Spiral, then untaps, and then plays a 4-mana card, whether it's Wilderness Reclamation or Nightpack Ambusher. It is a combo. It is a combination of cards that Elias would need to have to punish you, but there's nothing really you can get in trouble from if something like this happens, like an Aether Gust into a third land. There's no really important 3-mana card, so it's fine. But it's not exactly free, though it's reasonable.
Okay. Fatal Passage, Crack, gonna go find a forest and run out this Nightpack Ambusher. See if there's any response here from Elias. Now, one thing I've noticed with these Team Erect decks as well is none of them are playing Storm's Wrath. Do you think that might change next weekend?
No, I think it'll be less likely. Storm's Wrath is not good at all in against Bant or Team Erect. Answering Nightpack Ambusher by attempting to let it resolve, attack you, make a 3/3, and then play a card to deal with it on your next main phase is just not at all where you want to be. You're opening yourself up to basically losing the game to a counter instead of just, falling behind a little bit. I think you'd be way more likely to see something like cheaper, like Lava Coil, which is still bad for the same reasons, but more likely it's just Bounce or Aether Gust, even though everybody seems to already be stocked up on those.
So it's a similar argument that I asked about with Shadow of the Sky. Same sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Almost the same card. Yeah. Except Shadow of the Sky's worse because your opponent gets a card out of it.
Fair.
This is actually pretty big trouble for Dominic. I mean, his hand looks good on the surface, but a bunch of cards that can counter spells against the Nightpack Ambusher that slipped through the cracks, and now he's drawn mana. This game might be
over Red Rover.
Ending very, very quickly.
Yeah, nothing to do here. No expansion explosion to take advantage of this Wilderness Reclamation. So just has to pass the turn back. And all Elias has to do is just keep swinging with these wolves. Castle Vantress, Scry, 1 top, 1 bottom. Is he going to be able to finish this out here in the next couple turns? Down to 7 goes Dominic Gertzen. Needs to find some way to fend off this pack of wolves. Considering something on the end step there. Tosses it back, makes another wolf token.
So,
and this is looking all but over.
Yeah, I mean, Dominic has one more chance to draw something because the wolf can, in theory, the wolf can block the Nightpack Ambusher. But I don't know what he can draw now. Let's see, 6, 18 mana, not enough to even just YOLO Explosion for lethal. He's going to be up against 4 creatures at 1 life. Maybe if he had Storm's Wrath.
If only. He finds an expansion explosion. I don't think that's going to get the job done here, not with so few lands in play.
Well,
Can
it has
kill
to
something.
involve, like, let's suppose he cast it for 5 and then drew 3 Aether Gusts or something. Like, that's kind of...
That's his only out here.
Yeah, something of that nature. Maybe I'll cast it for 4 and try to draw 3 Aether Gusts. But he has to still draw 3 answers to all this stuff.
Yeah. But here we go. Explosion on the stack. Trying to get rid of the Nightpack Ambusher. Mystical Dispute. Negate that.
Save a mana, but I don't know. I don't think he can even... I think 5 mana is not enough, even with perfect draws. I think you need 6. I think it's 2 per wolf in the best case.
Yeah. And such a tough position here for Dominic, not finding anything proactive, just a handful of nopes, and Elias took full advantage of that. Here's another negate. A second negate to negate the negate. Nopes upon nopes on the stack right now. And finally, Explosion resolves. Doesn't find anything useful. Blast Zone, gonna blow up some stuff. There goes Dominic. So congratulations to Elias Watsfeld, our winner here of Players Tour Online #1. Huey, just couldn't get anything going there for Dominic.
Yeah, I mean, the one turn where he cycled the Shark Tornado to make a 2/2. Elias was able to slip through the Nightpack Ambusher, and Dominic's hand after that ended up being a handful of counters. He was never able to draw anything that impacted the board, no threats of his own, and he just kind of succumbed to the single Ambusher making an army of wolves.
Yep. Just shows how incredibly powerful that card is if it goes unchecked. Maybe even more powerful than Nissa. Probably not, but still darn good indeed. So we're going to hear from Elias after the short break, so don't go anywhere, friends. We'll be right back after this.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, the fastest way to get to know the most interesting people in Magic. And right now I'm joined by the host of Limited Resources and Magic commentator, Marshall Sutcliffe. Marshall, where can we find you online?
You can find me at Marshall_LR pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. We'll get straight into some questions. What is your favorite Magic deck of all time?
Ooh, my favorite deck. It's my Canadian Highlander deck. It is blue, green, and black, which is my favorite any combination of colors, including single colors. And it's a 100-card singleton, so I got to put in basically all my favorite cards from forever.
Awesome. I feel like I might know the answer to this one already, but what is your favorite format?
Oh, my favorite format is Booster Draft, specifically Cube.
What's the best draft set of all time?
I think the standard answer is Triple Innistrad, and that, I believe, is also the best draft format of all time. They hit a real balance with build-arounds, some funky decks, but also playable balanced colors across the board, and it really just holds up.
Do you have a favorite Planeswalker?
I do. My favorite Planeswalker is a Johnny Vengeant, actually, which is a little out of color pie for me, but I loved that card for its kind of weird combination of abilities, and especially its ultimate. You get to Armageddon your opponent. It's sweet.
Yes or no, pineapple on pizza?
Yes. Yes.
The correct answer. Yes. Thank you. Are you reading anything right now?
Yes. I am reading a book called Watchmaking by George Daniels, who was an English watchmaker.
What's your favorite sports?
Basketball, 100%. I've played it since I was 13, and I think it's the best sport, and it is so not close my favorite sport to any others. And I like sports, but basketball's number one.
Who's your team?
You're going to make me sad here, James. My team is the Seattle Supersonics, who were ruthlessly ripped away from my city in 2008 and have yet to return.
Oh, sadness. I'm
one
sorry.
day, bring back the Sonics. I miss them.
One more question. What is your go-to comfort food?
Ooh, popcorn. I like to make it myself on the stove, like none of this microwave stuff. And I've got a perfect system for it. And I love popcorn.
Awesome. Well, thank you for talking to me, Marshall. And once again, where can we find you online?
Anytime, James. And you can find me at Marshall_LR. And anything for the podcast is lrcast.com. It's time for the finals here from Players Tour Phoenix. Is it going to be William Huey Jensen? Is it going to be Corey Burkhart? We will find out shortly. Temple of Mystery kicks things off for Jensen. He is now facing... Jensen has Seder Wayfinder here. He's going to go digging for the Lotus. And that's a bingo. He hit one.
There goes Huey's answer to the damping sphere. Natural state hitting the bin.
Mm-hmm. That was Thoughtseize, by the way, off the top of the library here for Burkhart. But here's the big hitter, damping sphere. And that is something that William Huey Jensen is going to have to deal with before he can even consider going off. And right now, he cannot make green mana. Jensen now going in the tank here to try to find even the slimmest possible line of play that could get him out of this mess. I'm sure some part of the equation is him drawing and resolving a natural state, which we know, looking at the hand of Burkhart, just isn't realistic at this point.
Okay, he found a breeding pool, so that gives him access to blue mana as well now.
I think he copied a Watery Grave. Oh, he recopied. You're right. 2 and 3 was his record at one point on day one.
Quite a comeback.
And now he's about to win this tournament, and he's doing math. This is combat math for Corey. Not something he's accustomed to doing with his control
he's like, wait, I have to attack with creatures? What am I doing?
He's like, can I afford to go ahead and cast Drown in the Lock on this? And he can. Make a rat on your end step.
All of them are 3/3s, but if he makes 2 more copies on his own
and
turn,
that does it. Corey
wow.
Burkhart wins Players Tour Phoenix.
Congratulations to Corey.
Huge congrats to Corey Burkhart. What a win for him. He was 2 and 3 in the tournament, and he just won the whole thing.
Honest with yourself. You know, we all have strengths and weaknesses, and it doesn't make you a bad player to have certain weaknesses, even if it's like something major. So like you're poor at sideboarding or you're poor at playing a specific archetype, and you know, obviously you should be working on those. You should be working on your weaknesses. But if you want to do really well in tournaments, you're going to do better by accentuating and focusing on what you do well. You know, sometimes it's correct for certain people to not play what is the default best deck or what some of the top pros might think is the best position deck, but it's the best deck for you because it's what you're good at. Really be aware and focus on what you do well and make sure you're utilizing that to the best of your ability.
Welcome back to the News Desk. I'm Brian David Marshall, and it is my distinct pleasure to be joined here by Players Tour champion Elias Watsfeld. Elias, congratulations on an incredible tournament.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to play.
Now, this was a big achievement for you. Not only is this your first premier level top 8 finish, but you said this is also represents something else you've never done at a large scale event before.
Yeah, I've never won a tournament. I've played this game for a long time. I started back in, Onslaught. This is before any cards were printed for Modern. And I have not managed to win a large tournament. I've been close, but never gone all the way. So that's nice.
That's fantastic. You will go down in the, so we always say put it in the books at the end of an event. You go down in the books as the Players Tour Online champion, the first one of this kind of event as well. Now, when you were preparing for this event, what was your preparation like? Who did you work with, and what was that process like getting ready for this?
Yeah, so I worked for the genius Joel Larson, who won the previous Player Store in Europe a few months back in Brussels, and we played a few games, chatted a little bit, and came to the conclusion that okay, Team Reclamation, this is the best deck. Let's play this one, and I decided to go a little bit more crazy for the mirror, whereas Joel did. He stayed more inside the box this time.
Yeah, before we started showing the finals, I was in the booth with Huey, and we showed both deck lists. Ostensibly a Team of Rec mirror, and you had, I think, 6 or 7 cards that said either red or green or blue on it in terms of being like very focused cards for this matchup. The Ether Gust and the Mystical Disputes all set up in that main deck. It seemed like you were aiming for things that said Teamer.
Yes, very interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way. That there are the 4 gusts and the 3 mystical disputes, but yeah, my plan with the Ether Gust was to sort of get an edge in the mirror without sacrificing too much against Mono Red or Mayhem Devil or Mono Green or the cards alike. And I would also like to mention that Joel Larson, he had a great finish here, top 16 as well. So he did an amazing job as well.
Yeah, that's a tremendous finish for 2 people who work together on very similar lists. Great job by both of you. So tell me a little bit about what being after someone who's talked about playing in 2006 at the European Championship, first Pro Tour is Paris in 2011. What does it mean for you to finally have this accomplishment, this Pro Tour win, this Players Tour win, whatever we're going to call them at this point? It's something that most players who play this game never get an opportunity to say about themselves.
Right. So the best part is that Joel Larson is always nagging me like, you have never won a tournament. Well, guess what, Joel?
So now he's going to just nag you that you've never won 2 tournaments?
Yes, precisely.
Joel, of course, a 2-time PT champion. Elias, thank you so much for coming here and talking to us. I know it's probably dinner time. You're about 7 o'clock by you?
Sure, yes.
So I really appreciate you staying with us a little longer. Congratulations again to Players Tour Online champion, Elias Watsfeld. Have a great night, Elias, and look forward to seeing you at an in-person event somewhere in the future. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that was our Players Tour Online champion. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to Players Tour 2, and we'll be back with Alias and Huey as we go and see what's going on in a different time zone. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.